Your jaw tightens before your mind catches up. The email subject line flashes like a siren. Heat climbs your throat. Your vision narrows to a tunnel, heart thudding as if it wants out of your ribs. A tiny spark, offense, fear, shame, anger, finds dry brush. Now the inner weather turns. You're in a storm you didn't choose. Words you'll regret crowd your tongue. Your cursor hovers over reply all. Your breath is shallow, shoulders near your ears, palms slick against the trackpad. Sound familiar? Here's the promise. In the next 60 to 90 seconds, you can move from triggered to trained, from hijacked to deliberate. By applying a simple Stoic-Modern protocol, you'll practice until it becomes your reflex. Not a personality transplant, a skill set. You will keep your edge, not sand it down. You will choose presence under pressure, and your nervous system will learn to trust you again. Feel your next breath arrive without asking for permission. That's your first lever. When the amygdala senses threat, it steals blood and glucose from your prefrontal cortex, the part of you that plans, reasons, and chooses. You feel it as urgency, tunnel vision, a compulsion to do something, anything. But the same circuitry is trainable. A slow, extended exhale tells your vagus nerve, we are not dying, and buys back cognitive control. This is not theory class, it is a button you will push with your lungs. You'll pair it with language that unhooks you from the swirl, and a micro-action that signals leadership to your body. Together, these become your Stoic Switch, a modern translation of ancient calm into neurological leverage. Right now, let your tongue softly touch the roof of your mouth. Inhale through your nose for a count of 4, hold for 4, exhale for 6. Do it twice without hurry. As you lengthen the out-breath, imagine the edges of your attention widening, like a camera lens pulling back. Name the state. I'm having the surge of anger. That phrasing matters. You're not anger, you're having a surge. Language pins the weather to the map without making it the land. You are the awareness, not the emotion. Here is the first framework, the Stoic Switch. 4 steps you will train until they run by themselves. Notice the spark, name the weather, narrow the horizon. Now pick the smallest, wise action. Notice the spark means catching the somatic signature, heat in the neck, buzz behind the eyes, a spike in your chest. Name the weather means using precise, low-drama words, surge of fear, tightness of shame, prickle of defensiveness. Narrow the horizon means shrinking your time window to just the next minute and your space to just your body and this room. Now pick the smallest wise action means you choose one controllable behavior that nudges the day in a better direction. A single clarifying question, a glass of water, a saved draft instead of send. Feel your feet against the floor. The right sock is slightly tighter than the left. The chair has its own temperature. The sound in the room has layers you rarely notice. A faint hum, a distant voice, the pulse of your own breath. Every detail tells your nervous system, we are here, not inside the story. The relevance filter in your brain, the reticular activating system, learns from repetition. When you repeat the Stoic Switch, your RAS starts flagging early signals of a spiral. Triggers that used to ambush you become cues for training, like a bell at the start of a round. This is how you become unshakable, not by eliminating weather, but by becoming a superb navigator. A story for your pocket. In a fluorescent conference room, you sit across from Sam, a partner you respect, who just questioned your competence in front of 3 clients. The air goes hot, your ears ring. The old script wants you to cut in, to score a point, to iron the wrinkle with force. You feel your shoulders rise, your breathing vanish. You notice the spark. You name it under your breath. Surge of humiliation. You slide your thumb across the edge of your notebook, a tactile anchor. Then you narrow the horizon to the next 60 seconds and the square foot of table in front of you. Now you pick the smallest wise action. Sam, I want to understand your concern. Is it timeline or scope? The room exhales. The clients clarify it's a miscommunication about deliverables. Afterward, Sam apologizes. You didn't swallow your voice or explode. You trained it. You were the awareness, not the emotion. Your brain loves patterns. The second framework leverages that predictability, the 90-second weather rule. Neurochemically, an emotional surge tends to crest and recede in about 90 seconds when you stop feeding it with catastrophic thoughts and revenge fantasies. That window is a gift. During those 90 seconds, your job is not to fix the problem or solve the person. Your job is to surf the biochemical wave without adding mental gasoline. While you surf, your prefrontal cortex comes back online. Then the action you choose is not a flinch, but a decision. This is how you shrink regret. Place your right hand over the center of your chest and notice the weight of your palm. Inhale for 4, hold for 4, exhale for 6, twice more. As you breathe out, picture a thin mist leaving your ribs. Whisper, 90 seconds. Feel the clock slow. 2 micro drills make this rule practical. The first is the tactile timer. Press the tip of your index finger into your thumb pad and trace a small circle. Keep tracing until your exhale completes and do not speak until the circle becomes smooth. The second is the phrase screen. When you catch a catastrophic thought, you add 4 words in front of it. I'm having the thought. Now instead of they're disrespecting me on purpose, it becomes I'm having the thought they're disrespecting me on purpose. The space those words create is behavioral gold. Between stimulus and response, you found an inch of ground to stand on. The science isn't a lecture, it's a doorway. The amygdala is not your enemy, it's a smoke detector, a little dramatic, often helpful, occasionally overreactive. Your job is to test the alarm without smashing it. You do that with breath longer than your emotion, with precise language, with small action. Every repetition rewires synapses. Neuroplasticity is repetition with attention. You're installing a new default, a leader who keeps the channel open under heat. You will train this when the stakes are low, so it's there when the stakes are high. In line at the coffee shop when someone cuts ahead, you practice the Stoic Switch. Notice the spark, name the weather, narrow the horizon. Now pick the smallest wise action. Maybe it's a gentle, "Excuse me, I think the line starts back there." Maybe it's nothing, because your values say, this skirmish isn't worth your day. The point is that you decide, not your limbic system. You sense your calves carry your weight evenly. The smell of espresso arrives like a signal from a kinder planet. Your jaw loosens 1 notch. You are the awareness, not the emotion. Let's encode this as a daily drill so the groove deepens. Morning, before the world grabs you, sit for 2 minutes. Place 1 hand on your belly and 1 on your chest. Breathe 4-4-6 for 10 cycles. On each exhale, whisper the weather word you most want to practice with. Anger, shame, worry, defensiveness. See it as a cloud passing across a wide sky. Then anchor with a sentence of identity. I'm the one who responds with clarity. That's not magical thinking. It's a priming script for your RAS. During the day, the first time you feel a surge, run the Stoic Switch out loud if you can. If not, run it under your breath. In the evening, capture one moment you trained instead of triggered. 2 lines only. What happened? What you chose. It's not journaling for insight. It's proof to your brain that you are becoming who you said you'd be. You might worry that calm equals passive, that you'll become a doormat or lose your edge. The opposite is true. Rage is imprecise. Panic is clumsy. Trained presence lets you aim force wisely. Stoics didn't deny feeling. They mastered choosing. Marcus Aurelius wrote to himself about controlling judgments because he knew the first draft of perception is noisy. You're not bypassing emotion. You're letting it inform without command. Your breath slows. The skin on your forearms cools. Your shoulders settle into their sockets like a tool into its case. With practice, people will describe you as grounded, and they will bring you bigger problems because you radiate solvability. That's not pressure. It's privilege you earned by training. Imagine a future flash. You're on a video call. A project goes sideways. Someone blames you. The old you would sprint into defense. The trained you notices heat in the cheeks, names it as a surge, runs the exhale longer than the emotion, presses thumb to finger, waits for the 90-second weather to pass, then says, "Let's get specific on where it broke." The call shifts from blame to repair. After, you walk to the window, feel the glass cooler than the air, and you smile. Not because it was easy, but because you could feel the program run. You are the awareness, not the emotion. When you inevitably miss the moment and say the harsh thing or hit send too soon, you will also train the recovery. Shame wants you to hide and harden. Training means you own, repair, and learn. You breathe, you name, you narrow, you choose the smallest wise action. A clean apology without drama. A calendar block to fix the process. A note to self about the early signal you ignored. That too is stoic. The system doesn't demand perfection. It rewards return. Before we close this first session, test the protocol live. Think of a recent trigger. See it like a short film. Freeze on the frame just before you reacted. Where does your body light up first? Neck, gut, jaw, hands? That location is your spark signature. Mark it. Now, run the Stoic Switch in slow motion. Notice, name, narrow. Now, breathe 4 to 4-6 twice and say, 90 seconds. Add, "I'm having the thought" to the loudest sentence in your head and feel it loosen. Ask for the smallest wise action and commit to it for the next time a similar scene arrives. The point is not to imagine perfection. It's to pre-install a better reflex. The room you're in meets you as you are, breath warm, air faintly textured, the floor steady. Your mind is a sky again, wide and generous. You are the awareness, not the emotion. This is not about never feeling. It's about never being owned. It's not about staying small. It's about staying sovereign. The storm will still come. Good. The sea made sailors by throwing waves. You're building something practical, repeatable, and brave. If you can trust yourself for 90 seconds, you can trust yourself for a day. If you can trust yourself for a day, you can build a life that doesn't flinch. Keep the protocol in your pocket. Put your hand on your chest once more. Inhale for 4, hold for 4, exhale for 6. Say the words that change the game. I respond. Training begins with seeing. Mastery isn't a mystery. It's a map you can draw and carry. Today you'll build your trigger map so your nervous system stops treating every hallway as a battlefield. Think of it as charting reefs before you sail. Some reefs are obvious: public criticism, slow replies when you're anxious, a sibling who knows the exact sentence that hooks you. Some are sneaky: low sleep, skipped meals, caffeine on an empty stomach, a calendar packed edge to edge. Each one has a body marker. That body marker is the flare before the fire. When you map it, you shorten the time from surge to skill. You make the invisible practical. Lay your phone face down for a moment and let the room arrive. The light has a color today. Name it privately. The air touches your forearms. Your jaw unclenches by a millimeter when you notice yourself noticing. That's interoception, the insula bringing body data to conscious awareness. Athletes train it to hold focus. You'll train it to keep your sovereignty. Take one slow inhale and an even slower exhale, and imagine a sheet of paper with 3 columns. In the first, scenes that spike you. In the second, the earliest body cue. In the third, the smallest wise action you can take in the first 90 seconds. You're not writing a novel, you're scripting reflex. The first framework today is called the trigger map. It sounds simple because it is, but simplicity is not softness. It's precision. You'll take 5 common scenes and pre-install your response while you're calm. So your amygdala has nothing new to invent when the bell rings. Remember how your reticular activating system scans for what you've told it matters? When you rehearse a calm act, the RAS highlights the moment where that act fits. That is free focus you earn by practice, not by personality. Here's how you build it in real minutes. Think of the moment you most often regret. Maybe the snarky comment after a meeting. Maybe the late-night text you send to force closeness. Maybe the way you say yes while you mean no. Let one scene float up. Picture it like a clip paused at the 2-second mark. What hits first in the body? Heat in the face, a drop in the belly, a breath that thins. That's your spark signature for that scene. Write it down as if you're labeling a specimen. Then choose your preloaded action, the smallest wise move you want to make next time. It could be one clarifying question. It could be 3, 4, 4, 6 breaths behind a water sip. It could be typing the reply into notes and waiting 90 seconds before pasting. You aren't hoping you'll remember. You're programming in the calm. Feel the chair under you like a dock. Your feet have weight. The skin around your eyes warms as attention gathers there. Your brain is plastic. The pathways you use, you keep. Neurons that fire together wire together, but also prune what you don't feed. When you overwrite one flare with one breath and one precise line, you shrink the old code. This is not willpower. It's myelination. You're adding insulation to a better circuit. That is the definition of trained. The second framework is the Window-Widen Protocol. It takes the Stoic Switch you met earlier and gives it room to move in real conversations. Window widening means you generate options when your mind insists there's only one. The protocol is 4 moves braided together. Pause the mouth, widen the lens, seed a question. Take the smallest next step available right now. Pause the mouth is the literal act of holding your tongue a beat longer than your emotion. Widen the lens is zooming the time horizon and the purpose horizon by 1 notch. Not just what this sentence will do, but what the next hour needs. Seed a question means you plant curiosity in the room, so gravity shifts from conflict to clarity. The smallest next step is a micro-behavior that locks the shift into the day. Each move is visible. Each can be trained like footwork. In a kitchen at 11:23 p.m., a plate clinks louder than necessary. You and someone you love have been trading tight words in a tired language. The old system begs for the closing line, the winning argument, the little door slam that feels like certainty. Instead, you run the Window-Widen Protocol in your body. Mouth paused, lips press, breath slides down the ribs. Lens widened, you remember you both want to sleep and wake up with the option to be kind. A question seeds the moment. If we were on the same team, what would we do about dishes and deadlines this week? The room doesn't melt, it softens. The smallest next step appears. You set a 5-minute timer and clean side by side in silence, agreeing to revisit the topic at breakfast when your brains belong to you again. That's not avoidance, that's training. A minute passes. Notice the weight shift in your hips. Your breath feels thicker, like it's moving through velvet instead of static. Your shoulders lower, and when they do, your options multiply. This is prefrontal real estate returning online. In brain terms, you're moving from limbic firefight to executive function. In life terms, you're remembering why you're here and what you stand for. You are the awareness, not the emotion. Let's install a micro drill that binds the trigger map to the Window-Widen Protocol. It's called One Question, One Breath. When a surge hits, your first breath carries one question whose only job is to widen possibilities. You pick your one question in advance so there's no search cost when you're hot. If it's work, your question might be, what is the smallest clarifying question I can ask right now? If it's relationships, what is the kindest true sentence I can say? If it's your own inner critic, what is the next kind action my future self will thank me for? You ride one slow exhale and then let the question do its work. Questions are crowbars. They open stuck doors. Feel the temperature on your cheeks, the micro sound of fabric when you adjust your sleeve, the scent in the air, faint coffee or paper or something you can't name. Every sensory detail is a handrail when the stairs get steep. Your nervous system trusts what you can touch. Anchor to it. Your future self isn't a fantasy. It's the version of you whose habits you are rehearsing right now. A story from the field. You're leading a small team on a product launch. A message appears in Slack, terse and public. Why wasn't the client looped on the scope change? The channel goes quiet. Your body fires the old code. Flood of heat, jaw iron, the itch to draft a 4-paragraph defense. The trigger map would call this public, challenge, spark signature behind the eyes. Your smallest wise action preloaded. Breathe 446, ask for specificity. You run one question, one breath. Which scope line are you referring to, timeline or feature set? A teammate replies with the exact item. You respond, good catch, I moved that line after Tuesday's call, adding the note now. Thanks for flagging. You then DM the teammate to appreciate the vigilance and ask for future flags in the thread directly. Later, you add a checklist step so scope changes auto-notify the client. You didn't just manage optics, you trained structure. That is how calm scales. The science that makes this sticky is dull in a textbook and electric in your day. When you repeat a paired sequence, breath plus question, naming plus micro action, you recruit the basal ganglia, your habit center. That frees up working memory and reduces error under pressure. Add a reward glow, however small, and dopamine marks the circuit for reuse. Your reward can be as tiny as a mental checkbox or the warmth of a good job body you returned. This isn't self-congratulation. It's training chemistry to help. Tiny glows, repeated, make steady light. There's a second micro drill, the calendar cordon. It's not exciting, which is why it works. You choose 2 protected windows each week, 15 minutes minimum, labeled with a plain title, Response Training. During that time, you do nothing fancy. You visualize one upcoming trigger. You run the Stoic Switch. You practice one question, one breath, and you write one sentence you'll use if the scene occurs. You speak the sentence out loud so your mouth learns its shape. Then you stop. This is rehearsal, not rumination. The cordon matters because environment is stronger than intention. If you don't create the space, the day will eat it. You deserve 15 minutes to save you from 15 hours of cleanup. Look at your hands. Notice the mild asymmetry of tension between left and right. Feel your tongue in your mouth. Is it pressed to the roof or resting at the floor? Put it gently against the palate and notice your neck release. Long exhale. The room is the room. Your body becomes a sanctuary you can return to without asking anyone's permission. When your body becomes a signal of safety, people around you borrow your nervous system. Meetings end faster. Conflicts recover sooner. Not because you gave in, but because you held steady and precise. Someone will ask whether this means you never speak hard truths. The opposite. Precision under pressure is the most generous kind of honesty. Window widening doesn't avoid conflict. It upgrades it from heat to light. You can say, "I'm not available for that tone," and you can say it with a steady breath, a calm face, and a clear request. You can say, "I need to pause this and restart in an hour," and it will carry weight because you have a track record of returning. Boundaries built from presence don't shake, they guide. Let's add one more named method to your toolkit, the 3-perspective reframe. It's a way to train your prefrontal cortex to generate alternative stories fast, so the amygdala doesn't get to be the only narrator. First, you speak the protective story, the one your limbic system loves. Second, you speak the practical story, the boring, testable version that covers most human mistakes. Third, you speak the purpose story, the meaning you choose to extract regardless of who was right. In practice, it sounds like this. Protective story. They left me out on purpose to undercut my role. Practical story. Scheduling error. They were moving fast and forgot to add me. Purpose story. Either way, I'm going to write a template that explains when to loop me and share it today. You aren't gaslighting yourself. You're refusing to be trapped by a single draft. Reframing is steering attention, not denying reality. Feel your breath like waves now, each exhale a longer ribbon. Your chest widens at the edges when your shoulders stop guarding. Your spine finds a line between effort and ease. This is what trained feels like. Not drama, not numbness, but usable clarity. It's quiet enough inside to notice the next true step. An anecdote in a different arena. You're in a gym, halfway through a set, and a stranger corrects your form like a drill sergeant. The old story says you must educate them or you're weak. Your spark signature here is a buzz in the jaw. Trigger map entry, unsolicited coaching, jaw buzz, smallest wise action, half smile. I've got a coach, thanks. Return to breath. You run one question, one breath. What keeps me most in integrity with my training right now? Answer. Finish the set. Stay embodied. You do. Later, you ask the front desk to remind floor staff about consent before cues. You didn't swallow your voice. You chose its timing. You are the awareness, not the emotion. You'll be tempted to treat today's tools like novelties to try once. Don't. Treat them like shoelaces, ordinary gear that keeps you moving. Choose one scene today to map. Just one. Write its spark signature. Speak your one question aloud. Rehearse the sentence. Visualize the 90 seconds you'll surf. Then live your day. When the scene appears, it will feel less like a fight and more like a script you authored. That feeling is worth everything. Before you leave, seal this with a tiny ritual. Place 2 fingers on the pulse at your wrist. Count 4 beats in, pause for 4, ride 6 beats out. Whisper the 3 names you're adding to your operating system. Trigger map, Window-Widen Protocol, 3 perspective reframe. Say them like old friends. Then choose a phrase to carry as identity, short and precise. I move from surge to skill. Let it rest in the space behind your sternum like a folded note you can reach without looking. When the next spark lights, you'll know where the switch is. You're not creating a future where storms don't arrive. You're creating a captain who doesn't throw the wheel overboard. The map gets clearer the more you sail. The body becomes home. The room takes a breath when you do. You'll still feel everything. You'll just aim it. That changes the quality of your days more than any miracle solution you've ever been sold. Keep practicing. It is not about never stumbling again. It's about never being surprised by your own feet. Control isn't a slogan. It's geometry. When you're triggered, the mind collapses everything into one urgent point. Fix this person. Fix this moment. Fix this feeling. Training means widening that point into a compass you can steer by. Today, you'll install the Circle of Control compass, a Stoic-Modern instrument that keeps your hands on what's yours and your heart off what isn't. You'll pair it with the Emotional Alchemy Ladder, a fast way to move from raw surge to a clean request. When these 2 live in your pocket, boundaries stop feeling like cliffs and start feeling like well-marked paths. You won't become rigid, you'll become precise. That precision is kindness, to yourself first, and then to the room. Pause, and feel the world touch you back. The chair has edges. The floor holds you without asking for effort. Air brushes the inside of your nostrils as you breathe in and pools cool at the back of your throat as you breathe out. Tilt your gaze slightly upward, 20 degrees, and notice how the chest opens and the jaw loosens. That's not mystical. It's mechanics. Your reticular activating system follows the head and eye orientation you set, and an upward tilt invites broader options. You're telling your nervous system, we're scanning horizons, not threats. The body listens to angles. The Circle of Control compass works in 4 moves that become one motion when practiced. First, you identify the slice you directly control. That is, your behavior, your words, your boundaries, your attention. Second, you identify what you can influence but not control. Other people's clarity, the process, the environment. Third, you identify what must be accepted as it is, time zones, weather, past events, the fact that someone else didn't read your mind. Fourth, you release what belongs to no one, randomness, rumor, the ghost stories your brain writes at 2 a.m. Control, influence, accept, release. Say those 4 quietly and feel how your chest changes shape when you do. In brain language, you're shifting from amygdala alarm to prefrontal sorting. When the PFC names categories, threat dilutes, precision lowers, cortisol. In life language, you stop grabbing smoke and start turning knobs. Here's the micro drill that installs the compass, the pencil test. You take a single problem sentence, "My manager dropped feedback in public again," and you run it around the compass. What do you control? Your next sentence and whether you make a private request. What can you influence? The team norm for feedback channels. What must you accept? The fact that it already happened and you cannot unsay it. What needs release? Imagine motives and future catastrophes. Then you pick the smallest wise action in the control slice and one influence seed. You send a short note. Can we keep performance feedback in 1.1s? It helps me act on it faster. You also add a line in the team working agreement draft. Feedback preferences, public praise, private critique. You accept the sting without feeding it. You release the late-night narrative that your manager is out to get you. That's a compass, not a rant. Feel the heat shift in your neck as you breathe out. Put your tongue lightly against the roof of your mouth. Inhale for 4, hold for 4, exhale for 6. Twice. The lungs are levers you can reach in the dark. A story from the corridor where careers get made or muddied. You're 2 days from a launch, and a partner pings you in a group thread. We'll need your team on the weekend. Old code lights up, resentment, a flash of helpless anger, a reflexive fine, followed by a private storm. Instead, you run the circle of control compass in 10 silent seconds. Control, your reply and your boundaries. Influence, the scope and the schedule. Accept, the late request is real. Release, the story that you are always the one who has to bend. You answer with the boundary bridge method you're about to learn. A clean, no paired with a path forward. Weekend is not available for my team. Here's what we can do. We'll deliver the must-haves by Friday noon and schedule the remaining items for Tuesday. If that doesn't meet the client's need, we can discuss a change order. The thread goes quiet in the best way. Later, the partner DMs you to say thanks for being clear. You didn't have to armor up or cave. You navigated. Boundary Bridge is your second framework today. Think of it as no plus, because plus bridge, spoken in a tone that signals respect rather than reactivity. No is short and firm, because is a single sentence tied to values or constraints, not a defense brief. Bridge is the path that keeps progress alive. You'll practice it until it feels like muscle memory. Neurologically, you're aligning breath, prosody, and content so your message lands as safety rather than attack. Vagal tone and vocal tone travel together. When your exhale is long, your voice carries more warmth and steadiness. People hear that steadiness and mirror it. Mirror neurons are social mimics. You create the conditions for a better response by practicing a better transmission. Try it on your tongue. Whisper, no, and let the word finish. Whisper, because I protect our team's sustainable pace. Whisper, bridge, here's a path that works. Now string them together with 1 4-4-6 breath between each clause. No, because. Bridge. The space inside those commas is grown-up power. The micro drill to lock it in is called the 2-sentence boundary. You truly get 2 sentences. Example, I'm not available for weekend work. I can offer a phased plan that meets the core deliverables by Friday. If they push, you repeat the boundary once and name the trade-off. Still not available for weekend work? If the timeline is fixed, we can remove X and Y to protect quality. No threat, no tremble, just a steady wheel. Notice the temperature across your collarbones. There's usually a 1-degree difference between left and right. Let the cooler side be the side you lean into as you exhale. Ground through your heels. The room is simple when you feel it, not when you think it to death. You are the awareness, not the emotion. The emotional alchemy ladder turns inner weather into information and then into motion. It's 4 rungs you climb in a single minute. Heat, word, need, move. Heat is pure sensation, tight chest, hollow belly, buzzing jaw. Word is the clean label, anger, grief, shame, fear, disappointment. Need is the value underneath, respect, rest, clarity, belonging, fairness, competence. Move is the smallest wise action that honors the need without harming the moment. When you climb the ladder, you stop fighting the feeling and start reading it. You also stop outsourcing your needs to other people's guesses. Let's climb it in a personal scene. A friend cancels on you for the second time in a month with a last-minute text. So sorry, something came up again. Heat, a chill behind the sternum and a pinch around the eyes. Word, disappointment, with a whisper of unimportance. Need, reliability, and being chosen on purpose. Move, send a boundary bridge that names the pattern and asks for a repair. I care about seeing you. 2 last-minute cancels in a row makes me feel unimportant. If we reschedule, can you confirm the day before? If that's hard right now, let's pause until your schedule opens. You didn't turn the feeling into a dagger or into a swallow. You turned it into a clear request with an off-ramp. If they meet you there, great. If not, the data stands. Either way, you stayed trained. Science quick and useful. When you name a feeling, your right ventrolateral prefrontal cortex dampens amygdala activity. Name it to tame it isn't cute, it's circuitry. When you identify the underlying need, you shift attention networks from threat to problem solving. And when you choose a move that's small and specific, you recruit the basal ganglia to store it as a repeatable action. Over time, the latter becomes a reflex path your brain can find in the dark. Let your shoulders drop as if sand slowly poured out of them. Inhale through the nose for 4, hold for 4, exhale for 6. On the exhale, whisper heat, word, need, move. The vowels stretch your mouth into quieter shapes. Your tongue rests, your jaw unclenches. Input becomes instruction. An anecdote from a quieter room. It's 6:12 a.m., you're halfway through coffee, and your phone lights with a family group chat argument. A cousin lobs a political grenade and tags you by name. The surge is instant and familiar. Your fingers itch to compose a clarifying essay. Heat, electricity in the forearms. Word, agitation threaded with helplessness. Need, respect, and sane dialogue. Move, the boundary bridge with time and channel. I'm not discussing this here. If you want my take, call me tonight and we'll talk one-on-one. Then you mute the thread for 24 hours. Later you call, listen for 5 minutes, ask 2 questions, state your view in 3 sentences, and leave it there. You didn't ghost. You didn't spiral. You took the wheel and steered to a road where your tires have grip. Add a small tool to your pocket called the Palm Warm Reset. Friction and heat change states, so does your attention. Rub your palms together briskly until you feel warmth bloom, then press them over your eyes for a slow exhale. This interrupts visual input and lengthens the vagal message of safety. When you remove your hands, choose one object across the room and name 3 details silently. Color gradient, shape, edges. That's you reclaiming the camera from the hallway drama. The reset is 2 breaths long and costs nothing. Feel your breathing now. Does it sit high in the chest or low in the belly? Send a breath down until your belt would move if you were wearing one. Picture your ribs like a book, opening on the inhale and quietly closing on the exhale. The book doesn't slam, it returns. Let's formalize a fast entrance ramp for any moment called STOP, a classic, updated for your day. See the spark. Take 1 breath, open your posture, proceed 1 inch. C is the instant label. Spark. Take is the 4 to 4-6 breath. Open is a physical cue, shoulders back and down, jaw soft, eyes level, that tells your brain it can choose rather than flinch. Proceed 1 inch means you move the situation forward by a sliver aligned with your compass. Send the clarifying question, save as draft. Ask for timing, step outside, and sip water. Name the need. It's not heroic, it's precise. Precision beats performative every day. A workplace vignette where stop and the ladder weave. You're in a one-on-one, your manager says, your communication could be better. The phrase is a fog machine. See the spark. Defensiveness curls hot in the throat. Take 1 breath, 4, 4, 6. Open posture. Shoulders unhunch, jaw unhooks. Proceed 1 inch. Ask for a concrete example. Can you share a recent moment where communication fell short? I want to make it specific. They mention late client updates, ladder time, heat, small buzz in the jaw, word, embarrassment, need, clarity and expectations. Move. Would it help if I send end-of-day summaries on milestones? If so, I'll set a 4 p.m. timer. The meeting shifts from vague judgment to a plan. Later, you schedule the timer. A week passes, updates go out, tension drops. You train the system. Notice the sonic texture of the room, distant traffic, a soft whir, your own breath as background. The world keeps happening. You keep choosing. You are the awareness, not the emotion. There's a piece you might resist, repairing after you misfire. Training requires recovery reps as much as precision reps. The boundary bridge helps here too. I spoke sharply earlier because I felt rushed. That's on me. Here's what I'm doing so it doesn't repeat. I've blocked 20 minutes before the stand-up to prep. If I cut you off again, I'll catch it. No groveling, no excuses, just repair and process. Your nervous system learns you can be trusted after a stumble. That's unshakable. Not never shaking, but always returning. Install a tiny habit to keep boundaries from eroding silently. The boundary log. Each evening, write 2 sentences. 1 boundary you set or upheld, 1 boundary you wish you had set. No more. The log builds a pattern your RS can point to. You do this. Over 2 weeks, you'll notice your mouth finds the words faster and your pulse spikes less. Myelin doesn't care about willpower. It cares about reps with attention. Add 1 more identity lever called the control mantra. It's 6 words you use as a gate at the mouth. Control words, influence requests, accept facts, release stories. That's too long to say under heat, so you compress it to control, influence, accept, release. Whisper C.I.A.R. as you breathe out. Even an acronym can become a physical cue. You're writing code into the body. In a relationship kitchen, a different boundary presents itself. You come home exhausted. Your partner starts venting immediately. You love them. You also feel your bandwidth hit red. Old code says, be a good listener, while resentment builds a case. Trained presence says, boundary bridge with tenderness. I want to hear you, and my brain is fried. Give me 20 minutes to shower and eat, then I'm all yours. You set a timer. You return, phone in a drawer, eyes on them. Trust grows not from endless yeses, but from reliable promises. You didn't abandon either of you. You honored both. Your nervous system is learning that you don't abandon it either. That's the secret under all of this. When you choose a boundary with a warm voice and a long exhale, your body registers, we are protected by us. Threat alarms quiet sooner. Tunnel vision widens faster. You become a place it's good to live. Breathe once more, slow. Feel where your back meets the chair, where your feet meet the floor, where your breath meets your hands if you place one over your heart and one over your belly. Whisper the names of today's tools so they stick: circle of control compass, boundary bridge, emotional alchemy ladder, STOP, palm warm reset, boundary log, C.I.A.R. They're not slogans, they're switches. The storm will still visit. Good. You now have rails to ride and a wheel to hold. Imagine a scene arriving tomorrow. Someone interrupts you. 3 times in a meeting. Old code pushes heat into your throat. Trained code runs, see, take, open, proceed 1 inch. I'm going to finish my thought, then I'll hand it back. The room adjusts. You finish. You hand it back. After, you DM them. When you jump in early, I lose my place. Give me 10 more seconds and I'll be quicker. They say, didn't realize. Thanks for telling me. That's not a miracle. That's a machine you built with breath, words, and an identity. You are the one who responds with clarity. You are the awareness, not the emotion. You don't need grand declarations. You need small, reliable acts performed when no one is clapping. The compass points even when you turn the lights off. The ladder stands even when your hands shake. Boundary bridge sounds gentle even when you feel fierce. Keep repeating until the grooves feel old and friendly. One day soon, you'll catch yourself choosing without effort, and you'll smile at the thought. Trained. Your inner voice is the weather service of your nervous system. When it predicts doom, your body carries an umbrella you don't need. When it sneers, your muscles recruit for a fight you never chose. Today, you'll train the voice that names the world, because language is a steering wheel. The brain listens to the mouth. You'll install the narrator's chair, a position from which you edit the script before it hits your bloodstream, and you'll pair it with the RAS targeting ritual, a 60-second prime that tells your reticular activating system what to notice and what to ignore. Together, they become your day's operating system. You won't be chanting affirmations you don't believe. You'll be issuing instructions your physiology can follow. Let your breath arrive without a memo. Feel the temperature on the rim of your nostrils, the slight cool at the start of the inhale, and the gentle warmth on the way out. Your spine lengthens by a finger width when you imagine the crown of your head tugging toward the ceiling. The chair meets you. The floor is loyal. The room carries a faint sound, a hum, a dog in the distance, the honest quiet between. You anchor here because perception follows sensation. When you adjust the instruments, the flight steadies. You are the awareness, not the emotion. The narrator's chair is simple and radical. You place yourself 1 seat behind your thinking, and you choose 3 moves. Label, lead, leave. Label means you catch the first draft with clean words. I'm having the thought that I always mess this up. Using that phrase inserts psychological space and downgrades prophecy to opinion. Lead means you offer a second sentence that aims the nervous system. The smallest wise step is to open the file and work for 4 focused minutes. Leave means you set a time boundary for rumination and return to the task. You don't argue with the first draft, you outright it. In brain terms, you're recruiting the ventrolateral prefrontal cortex to regulate limbic noise and handing the basal ganglia a clear, repeatable sequence. In life terms, you sound like someone you trust. Test it on something alive. Think of the project you keep postponing. Notice the first story your brain throws. Label it with, I'm having the thought that. Then lead with 1 sentence that points hands and eyes. 4 minutes now. Now leave by setting a soft timer and taking the first bite. When the timer ends, You scan for the next smallest wise step. This is not heroism. This is the humble physics of momentum. A body in motion carries less shame. Feel the weight of your tongue. Rest it gently on the palate. Inhale for 4. Hold for 4. Exhale for 6, twice. On the second exhale, whisper, narrator's chair. Words spoken slowly signal the vagus nerve to unclench the jaw of your day. Prosody, the music of your voice, tells the amygdala whether the world is safe. When your voice slows, your options widen. You are the awareness, not the emotion. An anecdote from a Tuesday morning that could belong to you. You're heading into a client review after a rough sprint. The mirror shows a face that didn't sleep enough. The hallway fluorescent flickers. Old code whispers, they'll tear this apart and so will you. Your chest tightens. In the elevator, you sit in the narrator's chair. Label, I'm having the thought that this is doom. Lead, the smallest wise action is to ask for the top 2 concerns in the first minute. Leave, I'll reassess after the first 5 minutes. In the room, you say, to land this well, can we name the 2 most important risks to address first? The energy shifts from judgment to structure. 20 minutes later, 3 items move to backlog, 2 get crisp acceptance criteria, and 1 gets killed on purpose. You exit lighter, not because the work was perfect, but because the voice that ran your body was trained. The RAS targeting ritual is the second piece you'll install. Every morning, you give your reticular activating system 3 targets, so it filters the fire hose in your favor. Protect, progress, appreciate. Protect is the boundary or energy guard you'll uphold today. Protect a deep work block from 10 to 12. Progress is the small, non-negotiable step that moves a priority by 1 inch. Progress the deck by finishing slide 6. Appreciate is the texture of life you'll let land. Appreciate the first sip of coffee on the balcony and the way the afternoon light hits the plant. Write these in 1 sentence each, then say them once aloud. This isn't magical thinking, it's a search query. The RAS will flag what matches. By evening, you'll have evidence that you are a person who protects, progresses, and appreciates. Identity is repetitions of behavior witnessed by your own nervous system. Your hands are warm now. Rub your palms together until heat blooms, then place them over your eyes. Exhale. The world goes soft and dark for a beat. Visual input drops, threat alarms, quiet. When you lower your hands, the colors in the room look 1 shade deeper. Noticing is a kindness that costs nothing and pays attention back. A story in a different arena. You run early morning laps before the city wakes. A stranger passes and mutters, "You're slow." The old narrator sprints to defend. Prove them wrong. Push until your lungs burn. You catch it. Label, I'm having the thought I need to perform for strangers. Lead. Smallest wise action is to hold my pace and protect my form. Leave. I'll review at the next corner. You keep your cadence, your breath evens. At the corner, you smile at the absurdity of outsourcing your standards to a passerby. Later, you log the run and write 1 line in your boundary log, protected my plan over performance theater. That sentence, repeated over weeks, becomes a quiet medal your body recognizes. Here's a third tool braided through both frameworks, the rate of speech break. When you feel heat rise, you intentionally lower the words per minute of your next sentence by half. People hear speed as threat. They hear pace as presence. Practically, it sounds like this in a tense meeting. Give me 10 seconds to think, and then I'll answer. The pause is not a performance. It's a neurochemical intervention. Longer exhale, fewer syllables, more prefrontal clarity. Pair this with the three-gate test: true, kind, necessary, spoken silently. If your sentence fails any gate, you return to the narrator's chair and write a new line. Over time, your default tone becomes calm, and your words carry farther with less force. Notice the back of your neck. Is it slightly cooler than your cheeks? Let your exhale run past the point where you usually stop. There's always more breath than the mind thinks. The ribs glide like a book closing without a slam. You are the awareness, not the emotion. Science, short and applied. The negativity bias isn't a moral flaw, it's an ancient survival feature. Your brain marks bad louder than good because mistakes used to be lethal. In modern life, this means your attention sticks to criticism and slides off praise. You counter that by tripling the dwell time on neutral to positive signals. When someone says, "Nice work," you breathe, repeat it once internally, and tie it to a behavior. Nice work on the concise brief. That's the appreciation leg of your ritual. You're teaching your hippocampus which memories to store for resilience under heat. Plasticity follows attention. Attention follows instruction. Instruction follows the mouth that you train. Let's practice on a live ember. Bring to mind a sentence your inner critic loves, one that has costume changes but the same shape. Maybe it's, "You're always behind." Maybe it's, "One mistake and they'll see." Hear it, label it. I'm having the thought that, feel which body spot. Lights first. That's your spark signature for this sentence. Now lead with a next action the body can perform in less than 60 seconds. Open the document. Add 3 words to the email draft. Here's the update. Place a glass of water on your desk. Leave by setting a trivial timer, 60 or 90 seconds, and resuming. You're not trying to feel worthy. You're building worthiness like stacking bricks. A workplace vignette where language edits the day. You present a plan. A senior exec says, "This seems naive." The room turns to watch what you do next. The old narrator screams, "Attack or shrink." The trained narrator labels, "I'm having the surge that wants to defend." The rate of speech break engages. Say more about what reads as naive. They point to a risk you already accounted for on slide 14. You redirect. That risk is why we staged validation in phase 2. Can I jump to that slide? The tone stays even. The room follows clarity, not volume. After, you pay attention for 3 breaths to the teammate who DMs, "Handled that with poise." You let the compliment land, naming the behavior it praised. This is not ego stroking. It's calibrating your instrument cluster so you don't steer by alarm alone. Feel your feet. Is one heavier? Shift your weight until you find evenness. Your hands can rest on your thighs. Palms down for groundedness. Palms up for openness. Choose on purpose. The quality of your next choice often depends on where your hands are. Bodies love simple signals. You'll add a tiny practice called doorframe reset that ties language to place. Every time you pass through a doorway today, you silently say one sentence from the narrator's chair and one from the RAS targeting ritual. I lead with the smallest wise step. Protect the 10 a.m. block. This tethers your training to architecture. The world is full of doorways. Let them become bells. Another story, this one about the inner weather when you're alone. It's midnight and you're scrolling, chasing a feeling that's not on your screen. The narrator whispers old lines. Just one more, then you'll sleep. You catch the heat in your temples. Label. I'm having the thought that scrolling will soothe. Lead. Smallest wise move is lights off, phone on the floor, across the room. Leave. I'll reassess after 2 minutes of dark. You set the phone down, click off the lamp, feel the cool of air on your forearms, and watch the wave crest and pass. 90 seconds later, your mind is quieter. You fall asleep not because you are strong, but because you are specific. Training is specificity meeting repetition. If you want to deepen the prime, pair the RAS targeting ritual with a body cue called the sanctuary seat. Pick a literal seat in your space, a chair by a window, the corner of a couch. When you sit there, you do the ritual. You breathe 4-4-6 twice. You speak, protect, progress, appreciate, and you imagine the day like a corridor with doors you choose. Over time, your body will link that seat to a state. State-dependent learning becomes your ally. You can trigger clarity by touching the chair back. The place becomes a friend who remembers your better lines when you forget them. Notice the smell in the air, even if it's faint. Name it. Paper, dust, citrus, rain. Senses are ladders out of spirals. You don't need poetry, you need contact. There's a refinement for hard days called the 5% pivot. When your critic is loud and your energy is thin, you lower the bar until success is inevitable. 5% better breath, 5% slower voice, 5% tidier sentence. The prefrontal cortex loves tractable goals. The dopamine system rewards completion, not grandeur. You whisper, 5%, and you let that be enough for the next hour. That hour notches into your identity. 1,000 small pivots make an unshakable hinge. You might worry that a gentler inner voice will make you soft. Precision matters here. Gentleness is not indulgence. It is efficient force. When you remove contempt from your self-talk, you reduce cognitive load spent on defense and free attention for execution. You become faster because you're not dodging your own blows. The Stoics wrote like this long ago, firm with the world, fair with the self. You carry that forward with science at your back and breath in your hand. Let's bind all of this into a small evening loop called the Micro-Closure Protocol. Before bed, you write 3 sentences. I protected, Shandishapa. I progressed, Shandishan. I appreciated. Yeah. Then you add 1 line from the narrator's chair aimed at tomorrow. Tomorrow's smallest wise step is. You close your eyes and breathe 4-4-6 once, imagining the step as a single camera shot. The brain loves unfinished loops. Zygarnik showed that unresolved tasks hold attention. You reduce the noise by telling the brain there's a next place for the energy to land. Sleep comes cleaner when your narrator trusts you. Feel your chest from the inside, not the ribs, but the space between them. On the inhale, it widens as if the room made room for you. On the exhale, it softens like a shirt dropping into warm water. You are the awareness, not the emotion. A final vignette to stitch the day. You're in a relationship conversation that matters. Old patterns hover like ghosts. You catch the first sharp line forming behind your teeth. You sit back into the narrator's chair. Label, I'm having the urge to win. Lead, smallest wise action is to name my need cleanly. Leave, I'll pause after speaking and let silence do some work. You say, slower than your heat wants. When plans change last minute, I feel unimportant. I want reliability. Can we choose 1 night a week that is ours? No reschedules? The air changes shape. Your partner hears a request, not an accusation. That shift is not luck. It's trained. Language conducting trained breath. You did not abandon your truth. You escorted it. This isn't about becoming a saint. It's about becoming a trustworthy narrator of your own life. The voice in your head will never be quiet forever. It doesn't need to be. It needs a seatbelt and a job. Label, lead, leave. Protect, progress, appreciate. Rate of speech break, doorframe reset, sanctuary seat, microclosure 5%. You're not chasing perfect, you're building reliable. The storm still drops by. You greet it by name, you widen, you choose, and your day aligns around a spine you can feel with your own hands. Place one hand over your heart and one over your belly. Inhale for 4, hold for 4, exhale for 6. Whisper the identity you're practicing. I speak to myself like someone I'm responsible for. That is not softness. That is steel that doesn't squeak. Your nervous system is learning a new soundtrack. Others will hear it too. Rooms will calm when you enter because you carry a tone that says, "We can think in here." The narrator cannot control the weather outside. The narrator can control the script inside. Scripts become actions. Actions become patterns. Patterns become character. Character holds under heat. That's the shape of Unshakeable. Attention is not just a flashlight. It's a muscle that remembers what you feed it. When you scatter it, your day feels like confetti after a parade. Colorful everywhere and strangely empty to pick up. When you aim it, your day gathers into a clean arc that leaves proof behind. Today, you'll train proof. We'll install attention triage, a way to decide what gets your brain and what doesn't in the first 5 minutes, and the context fence method, a sturdy perimeter that keeps a task protected long enough to matter. Together, they turn "I'm busy" into "I moved something that matters." Busyness is a feeling. Progress is a footprint. You're going to leave deeper tracks. The room is here, uncomplicated. Feel the cool along the ridge of your nose, the way your shirt settles across your shoulders, the slight pressure of gravity behind your knees. Inhale for 4, hold for 4, exhale for 6. Twice. Your ribcage widens like a book opening and closes like a page turning. That's not romance, it's signal. When you slow the exhale, you hand the prefrontal cortex the keys. The limbic system relaxes its grip on the wheel, and your reticular activating system scans for the targets you set, if you set any. You are the awareness, not the emotion. Attention. Triage happens at the threshold of the day and at the start of any block. The move is 3 sentences long and takes less than a minute. You name the mission, the minimum, and the mercy. Mission is the single outcome that would make this block count, even if everything else wobbled. Draft the opening story for the deck. Minimum is the absolute smallest unit that makes a footprint. Write 2 messy paragraphs. Mercy is the forgiveness clause that prevents perfection from strangling progress. If focus slips, I return within 1 minute without commentary. Mission focuses the RAS. Minimum lowers the friction. Mercy neutralizes shame, the true thief of momentum. Neurochemically, you're setting a target. Dopamine loves targets. Defining a manageable entry, basal ganglia loves sequences, and removing the punishment that would otherwise glue you to avoidance. This is not a pep talk, it's mechanics. Test it live. Think of the block you keep dodging. Whisper the mission, soft but audible. Your ears hearing your mouth matters. Sound locks commitment into the body. State the minimum. It should feel almost laughably small. Add the mercy. Say it like a law, not a loophole. Then run a 4-4-6 breath and begin before the mind realizes you've moved. Start so small it would be embarrassing to announce. Let the embarrassment work for you. 2 sentences on a page are heavier than a perfect outline in your head. Feel the point where your index fingers touch your thumbs. The skin warms quickly under friction. Rub until heat blooms and then place your fingers on your temples for one long exhale. The world tightens less when you give it a warm face to meet. You are the awareness, not the emotion. The context fence method builds a wall around your work without turning your life into a monastery. It has 4 posts: time, tools, triggers, and exit. Time is the length of your fence, 25, 50, or 90 minutes depending on the task's demand. Tools is the exact gear allowed inside the fence: laptop, notebook, water. Phone stays out unless the task requires it. Triggers are preemptive moves against known derailers: Slack on Do Not Disturb, email closed, a sticky note over the inbox icon that literally says later and kinder. Exit is how you'll leave the fence without crash landing. 2 minutes to summarize what you did, what's next, and where to re-enter. Most people try to focus without building a fence. Then they blame willpower when the neighborhood cat, aka notifications, wanders in. Build the fence. You are not a brain on an open prairie. You are a builder. Anchor this with a micro drill called the 2-minute lock-in. Before you start, you take 1 minute to clear your surface and 1 minute to stage your tools. Staging is a kindness. The brain loves ready environments. It hates hunting. Put the glass of water where your left hand will naturally reach. Put the notebook open to a blank page with the pen uncapped. Put the task window full screen and drag the other tabs into a folder labeled Later. If later looks like a promise, your nervous system will let it go. The lock-in is not ritual for ritual's sake. It's friction management that buys you 10 extra minutes of real work in the first block. 10 minutes multiplied across weeks builds a book where a binder once lived, an anecdote in the fluorescent jungle. It's 9:58 a.m. and your stand-up ends on time, a small miracle. You've got a deep work block from 10 to 12 for the strategy memo that keeps slipping. Old code reaches for email, just a quick scan, just in case. The quick scan always turns into a current you can't wade out of. Today you run attention triage and the context fence before your cursor can betray you. Mission: draft the memo's spine. Problem, stakes, path. Minimum: write the problem section messy. Mercy: return within 1 minute when drift happens. Time post, 90 minutes, tools post, doc, timer, notebook, water, phone in another room. Trigger post, Slack D&D, inbox closed, sticky note that says memo feeds the team, email feeds anxiety. Exit post, 2-minute summary and a header. Next, stakeholder risks, typed in bold at the bottom. 38 minutes in, a thought tries to bloom. Check if legal replied. Mercy clause activates. You smile as if catching a toddler wandering toward the street, and you shepherd your attention back without scolding. 90 minutes later, the spine exists. It's rough and true. The block ends with a body feeling you've been chasing for months, relief that smells like competence. Notice temperature spread across your forearms. One patch is always cooler. Let your next exhale settle there. Hear the room's background, the low hum, distant traffic, the quiet tick you missed until you listened. Senses are straps that keep you in the saddle when the mind wants to bolt. You are the awareness, not the emotion. To keep fences tall, you'll need to manage pings. Pings are not neutral. They hijack working memory and leave what researchers call attentional residue, mental lint from the last task clinging to the next. The fix isn't extraction to a cave. It's ping hygiene. You define ping windows, specific times when you collect messages like a postal worker, not like a squirrel with a sugar problem. Between windows, you protect your fence with a call-out message that sets expectation. Heads up, deep work, 10:12. Replies at 12:15. If urgent, call. You'd be surprised how often urgent melts under a 20-minute delay. Your nervous system will try to convince you you're abandoning people. You're not. You're serving them with better work and cleaner yeses. A story from home where focus fractures are honest. It's Saturday morning. You promised yourself 1 hour to work on the application that could change your year. The kitchen is bright, the table a tempting co-working space. A partner wanders in with a question about groceries. Old you would try to hold the thread while talking, resent brewing like coffee left on the burner. Trained, you builds a lightweight fence with a phrase you've rehearsed. I want to talk and I'm in an hour block. At 11, I'm yours. Can we put a pin in that? You set a timer. You put your phone face down in a bowl by the door, a silly ritual that signals, not now. You tape a small card to the laptop. Mission minimum mercy. You begin. When the thought flashes, should I defrost chicken? You add it to a capture pad and return within 1 minute. At 11, you leave the fence with an exit. Finished the personal statement draft, next is the portfolio link. You turn toward the person you love and say, now me. They feel respected. You feel clean. That's how focus becomes a shared value instead of a private battle. Feel the quiet push of the chair on your back. Shift your gaze to a point just above the horizon line of your screen or wall. That slight upward tilt recruits a broader attentional field. Inhale through your nose. On the exhale, whisper, fence. Whisper again, mission. The mouth trains the mind. To enter fences faster, wire in the single task arc as a companion habit. It's simple. Initialize, immerse, incline, and inlay. Initialize is the first 90 seconds where you type or outline without editing. Pure spill. Immerse is the middle where you hold the thread by keeping your cursor moving. If stuck, you write working on it for 10 words until a real sentence shows. Incline is the conscious decision to push 5 extra minutes past the point when you'd normally quit. That extra small climb signals to your dopamine system that the effort is rewarding, not punishing. Inlay is the exit where you plant a stepping stone into the next session. A subhead, a question, a half sentence that begs to be finished. Your future self will meet that inlay like a hand extended in the dark. The arc is a temperament neutralizer. You don't need to feel inspired if you can start moving. There's a micro drill for the moment. You snap the tab forest open by habit. It's called the tab tax. Each new tab costs 1 push-up, 1 deep squat, or 1 hallway lap. This is not punishment. It's awareness. The body remembers prices better than the mind remembers promises. After 3 laps, you'll think twice before paying 4 more tabs. The tab tax keeps novelty honest. Neuroscience bridge, short and in service of your next hour. Novelty spikes dopamine. Dopamine isn't pleasure, it's pursuit. When you check messages, you're not getting joy, you're getting anticipation. The stream never satisfies because it's not built to. Satisfaction is serotonin and oxytocin territory, earned by completion and connection. When you honor fences and arcs, you give your brain the chemistry of done. That chemistry tastes like self-respect. A vignette from a noisy open office. You're mid-arc, and a teammate walks up. Got a sec? Your body tenses. Old you says yes, trains them to interrupt, and trains your nervous system to expect intrusion. Trained, you use as a hand signal, palm up with a smile, and a sentence you scripted, deep work, 11 or the top of the hour. They nod, come back, and soon the floor learns your fence lines. You specifically reward colleagues who protect theirs. Loved how you guarded your 2-4 block, the research shows. Culture bends toward the brave. You model what you need. You get more of it. Notice the weight of your feet. Imagine each foot growing roots through the floor for one breath. Roots don't hustle. They hold. On the exhale, feel your shoulders soften into their sockets. The world stops tugging when you enter your body on purpose. You are the awareness, not the emotion. Some days focus won't come because your body is underfed or underslept. That's not moral failure, that's biology. You'll train a fallback called the 5% fence. You build a fence for half the usual time and aim for 5% better than yesterday. You choose the minimum so small it insults your ego, and you perform it anyway. You capture one piece of evidence that you kept a promise at low energy. The identity you're building doesn't just perform when conditions are perfect. It returns when conditions are rough. Returning is a skill. Train it. There's also the distraction detox loop for afternoons when your brain feels like wet cardboard. Loop is 3 moves. Move the body, move the gaze, move 1 inch. You stand, walk to a window, let your eyes focus on a far point for 20 seconds to reset the ciliary muscles and quiet screen-stuck fatigue. You walk back, you do the smallest true step, rename the file properly, create the folder, type the title. You let the completion ping be small and real. Then you decide whether to push or pause. Either choice is clean because you touched the work. A personal story from the late-night kitchen table where many projects die and a few are born. You once had a habit of sitting down with a big plan and a bigger expectation, then ending the night with a bruise where your self-trust should be. The turning point wasn't a productivity app, it was a 1-sentence fence. 10 sentences a night, even if they're trash. 10 sentences turned into 20, some nights into 3, many into exactly 10. Months later, a draft existed that your old perfection couldn't produce. The practice taught you that mercy is not softness, it is fuel. Your body learned to associate sitting at the table with completion, not condemnation. That association is gold you can spend on any task now. The night feels different because you behave differently. You are the awareness, not the emotion. Add a closing ritual to glue today's tools. It's called the 3-fold close. You name the win, the wall, and the way. Win, 1 line that says what you moved. Wall, 1 line that names the friction that hit you hardest. Sleep, noise, novelty craving. Way, 1 line for the tweak you'll test tomorrow. Shorter fence, earlier block, different chair. Repeat this for a week, and you'll see patterns you can fix without judgment. Judgment likes drama, training likes data. Feel the seam where your shirt meets your skin at the shoulder. The sense is tiny, but it's there. When you can feel details that small, you can steer choices that small. You'll never eliminate distraction. The world is generous with it. But you'll stop negotiating every time it knocks. You'll have fences, arcs, triage, simple rails that hold you when you wobble. Attention is how you love things. Work, people, your own future. All of them know when they are being truly seen. Train your seeing. Mission, minimum, mercy. Time, tools, triggers, exit. 2-minute lock-in, single task arc, ping hygiene, tab tax, distraction, detox, 5% fence, 3-fold close. These aren't slogans, they're handles for your next hour. The storm of novelty can roar and you can still finish a page. The current of pings can tug and you can still protect a block. The pride that follows is not loud. It's quiet and sturdy. It sounds like a chair sliding back from a table, a breath leaving your chest, a simple sentence in your boundary log. I kept a promise to my focus. One more breath. Inhale for 4, hold for 4, exhale for 6. Put a hand on your chest and another on your belly. Whisper an identity cue to carry into your next block. I'm a person who finishes small things that add up. The words are small on purpose. Small fits inside fences. Fences hold storms. And when storms pass, fields grow. Close your eyes for a heartbeat. Picture tomorrow's first fence. See the screen, the notebook, the water, the sticky note that says, later. Hear your voice. State the mission. Feel your shoulders settle as mercy arrives early. The timer begins. The cursor blinks. You begin before you are ready. That is trained. Strength isn't just grit. It's maintenance. You can't show up steady on an empty battery and a frayed wire and call it mindset. Today, you'll calibrate the engine that carries every tool you've learned so far. We'll build the energy budget ledger so your nervous system stops overdrafting, and we'll pair it with stress inoculation sets so discomfort becomes a gym, not a cliff. When energy aligns with training, you stop white-knuckling calm and start wearing it like a well-cut jacket. This isn't biohacking theater. It's grown-up stewardship of the body that holds your mind. Feel the chair under you as if it were remembering you. The fabric has its own temperature. Your feet press into the floor and find a quiet firmness. Inhale for 4, hold for 4, exhale for 6. Notice the cool at the entrance of your nose and the warmth as breath leaves. The room has a low hum you usually ignore. Let it be a backdrop, not a hook. You are the awareness, not the emotion. The energy budget ledger is simple on purpose. You name deposits and withdrawals the way a small business tracks cash flow. Deposits are the behaviors that raise your capacity to stay deliberate. Deep sleep, light movement, unhurried meals, sunlight early, focused breaks that end clean. Withdrawals are the predictable drains. Decision, overload, social, friction, blue light late, caffeine on an empty stomach, stacked back-to-back meetings, scrolling arguments. Each morning you enter a starting balance. How resourced do you feel, truly, on a scale of 1 to 10? Midday, you adjust by a point or two based on behavior, not mood. Evening, you write one line about what made the biggest difference. This is not self-surveillance, it's literacy. The ledger changes how you choose the next hour. If your balance is a 4, you don't schedule your hardest conversation there. You build a deposit first. When you take the ledger seriously, you start seeing your day as a set of levers. The nervous system is electrical and chemical. It runs better with oxygen, hydration, and rhythm. Prefrontal clarity loves glucose stability and hates huge spikes and crashes. The vagus nerve favors long exhales, slow chewing, and social warmth. None of this is a lecture. It's a shopping list for your next calm decision. When the system feels safe and fed, you need less willpower because there's less firefighting. Run a micro drill right now called the first glass pair. Stand, fill a glass with water, and take 5 slow sips while breathing 4-4-6. Pair the sip and the exhale so your body learns to link hydration with downshifting. Sit down again and notice your jaw. Did it drop 1 notch? Tiny but real. You are the awareness, not the emotion. A story from an ordinary Tuesday that changed shape because energy did. You have a noon review with a client who tends to escalate. Old you would doom scroll through the morning, sip coffee instead of eating, stack Slack pings until cognition felt like a beehive, then white-knuckle the call. Trained, you looks at the ledger at 8:10 a.m., starting balance, 6. You schedule a deposit before noon, sun on your face for 8 minutes, a walk around the block while you rehearse your one question, then a simple meal you don't have to earn. You put a 20-minute fence on pings with a call-out message, and keep 1 cup of coffee with actual food. At 11:52, you're not heroic, you're resourced. The call opens hot, you run the rate of speech break and ask your preloaded question. 20 minutes later, the fire is a campfire. After, you write in the ledger, sun plus food before conflict, Pashishker's smaller storm. That sentence becomes a tile in your identity. You didn't just regulate, you invested. Pause your eyes on a point beyond the screen. Let the muscles around them relax as if they had tiny hands unclenching. Feel the skin on your forearms cool where air touches it. Hear a sound in the middle distance and choose not to label it. Your nervous system is learning that you are home to yourself. Stress inoculation. Sets are the friendly cousin of exposure therapy, scaled to daily life. You pick tiny, deliberate doses of controlled discomfort, and you pair each with an immediate return protocol. The aim is not toughness theater, it's teaching your amygdala the difference between we are threatened and we are training. In practice, that might be ending your shower 15 seconds cool while breathing slow and steady, or finishing the last block of a run at a pace that tugs a little, or initiating a hard one-line conversation you usually avoid. The magic isn't the stress, it's the return. When you follow the dose with a long exhale, a posture open, and a clear reframe, we did a small hard thing and we're okay. Your brain logs a new prediction. Discomfort leads back to safety. Over time, the size of hard shrinks. Science, short and actionable. Carbon dioxide tolerance shapes perceived breathlessness. When you practice exhaling longer than your habit, you raise your CO2 tolerance, and your nervous system interprets similar sensations as less threatening. That means your heart rate can tick up in a meeting without triggering a spiral, because your body has felt that beat in training and returned. Similarly, heart rate variability tends to improve with slow breathing and consistent sleep. You feel it as a little more space between spark and speech. Again, this isn't for a lab report. It's for that moment when someone interrupts you and your chest tightens, and instead of blurting, you say, "Give me 10 seconds to think." The physiology made room for the sentence. Run a first stress inoculation set, now that costs you 60 seconds. Sit tall. Exhale fully until you feel a gentle urge to inhale, then inhale soft and low through your nose, and repeat for 5 cycles slower than comfort. That discomfort, the tug before the inhale, is a cue you are teaching yourself to ride. At the end of the 5th exhale, whisper, "training," and consciously relax your jaw. Feel the floor hold you like a sturdy dock. You are the awareness, not the emotion. There's a companion micro drill called the 2-cue reboot. You pick 2 body cues that mean we are safe even if the task is demanding. For many, it's tongue on the roof of the mouth and shoulders dropped. For you, it might be feet pressing into the ground and eyes soft. When stress climbs, you press both cues at once and pair with one 4-4-6 breath. You don't think your way out of the surge, you signal your way through it. The reboot becomes a private gesture you can trigger in an elevator, during a pitch, or in the glare of your phone at midnight. Sensory check. Notice if one hand feels warmer than the other. Swap their positions and feel heat spread. That's blood flow catching the hint that you're safe enough to redistribute. Small comfort in a loud day. Let's refine the ledger with the 3x3 rest to perform loop. 3 minutes, 3 times a day, to intentionally downshift. Late morning, mid-afternoon, evening. No apps required. You close your eyes or lower your gaze. Exhale for 6 counts. Scan jaw, shoulders, belly, and soften each one notch. Then you ask one identity question. What would the trained version of me do? Next, you're not seeking revelation. You're returning to a track you already laid. The loop pays a dividend. When bedtime arrives, your system is not a single cliff edge, but 3 gentle slopes behind you. Sleep comes cleaner, not because you earned it by suffering, but because you told your organism all day, we will end and we will restart. The body loves rhythm more than intensity. An anecdote from a day that might as well have been designed to test you. You wake from fractured sleep because a neighbor argued at 2 a.m. At 9, a colleague misses a handoff and tries to make it your problem. At 3, your sibling texts a spiraling paragraph. Old you would grip harder until something snapped. Trained you opens the ledger, starting balance, a shaky 5. You schedule a deposit before noon, a 10-minute walk with sunlight and no phone. You run a micro nap at 1:30, 10 minutes eyes closed, no performance goals, just lid down and breath. You eat something with protein like a responsible adult because you are one. When the 3 p.m. text arrives, you run stop, then the circle of control compass. Control your reply. Influence the channel. I want to be helpful. Can we talk at 6 for 10 minutes? I'll call. You call at 6, as promised, from a park bench where the air is cooler than your forehead. The conversation is saner than the text because your battery was plugged in before you spoke. Feel the texture where your shirt meets your collarbone. There's a little scratch you hadn't noticed. Your brain's alarm system quiets when sensation fills the stage. You are the awareness, not the emotion. A tool for the ledger when days stack hard, the scarcity softener. You locate the sentence, "There isn't enough time," and replace it with, "There isn't enough time to do it badly." That flips you from panic to precision. Then you pick a 5% fence for the most important item, a tiny protected block with mercy built in. Scarcity softener isn't a mantra, it's an instruction. Panic chooses speed, precision chooses scope. Scope is how you keep promises on low fuel. If you want a bolder inoculation that touches courage, use the micro-ask game. Once a day for a week, you make a small, clean ask with a 50% chance of no. Could we move the deadline by 1 day? Would you be open to giving me the first 3 minutes uninterrupted to lay context? Any flexibility on price? Pair each ask with a long exhale and a friendly tone. The win is not the yes, it's living through the no without collapsing. The amygdala learns a new map. Social friction is survivable. Confidence stops being theory. It becomes data your body trusts. Notice your breathing. Send it low enough that your waistband would move if you were wearing one. Slow the exhale until your ribs feel like a book closing in a quiet library. The room hasn't changed. Your read of it has. The science, again, tightly leashed to usefulness. Circadian systems, track light and clock time. Early natural light exposure and consistent wake time tighten the rhythm that governs energy, appetite, and mood. tight rhythms reduce state drift, the experience of feeling unlike yourself for no clear reason. State drift is when the same email feels annihilating on Wednesday, but trivial on Friday. You don't need an app to fix it. You need a morning that repeats more than it reinvents. 10 minutes of light, some water, a small movement sequence that tells your joints you still live here. These are not life hacks. They're respect. Add a mini sequence called the Gate of Three. Before any high-friction moment, pitch, feedback, hard talk, you pass through 3 gates. Gate 1, 1 deposit now, water or 2 minutes of breath or 1 stretch. Gate 2, 1 line of purpose, why this matters beyond ego. Gate 3, 1 exit sentence, how you'll close cleanly even if heat rises. You name them silently, then walk in. Purpose acts like a spine. Exits act like dignity on speed dial. Your nervous system feels held by a plan and stops inventing panic. A final story for the day. You're at dinner with friends. The conversation turns gossipy. The energy feels like sugar, fast, tasty, empty. You notice your ledger dipping as your shoulders inch upward. Old you stays for belonging even as you leave yourself. Trained, you runs the 2Q reboot, then the boundary bridge. I'm going to bow out of this topic. Can we switch to trip stories? If the table rolls eyes, you smile and sip water and redirect with a question you seeded. The night steadies. Later, you write, belonging without betraying myself as a ledger win. The word belongs in your mouth. Wrap this by crafting your personal deposit trio, the 3 fastest things that move your number up 1 point. For most, it's sunlight, water, breath. For you, it might be a 5-minute tidy, a call to a friend with a steady voice, or a brief stretch that unhooks your lower back. Practice the trio until your body expects it like a favorite song's chorus. The ledger becomes less of a notebook and more of a reflex. Close your eyes. Place 1 hand over your heart, 1 over your belly. Inhale for 4, hold for 4, exhale for 6. Whisper, I steward my energy. My energy stewards my choices. That's not a slogan, it's architecture. When you honor the current that runs your life, storms still come, but you meet them fueled, not famished. Unshakeable isn't a personality. It's a battery you maintain and a skill you return to. You are the awareness, not the emotion. Imagine tomorrow morning. The window is a softer blue than you remember. You drink water slowly, breathing like someone on your own side. You step into light for a handful of minutes, letting your eyes find distance. You rehearse 1 small ask you will make and 1 small hard thing you will do. Then you picture the return. Long exhale, shoulders down, identity sentence whispered. That's your inoculation. That's your ledger. That's the quiet pride of a day that belongs to you before anyone else touches it. The body keeps the budget. The budget buys the moment. The moment reveals your training. Keep paying deposits. Keep taking tiny doses of hard with generous returns. The system learns quickly when you are consistent. When it does, you won't have to perform calm. You'll carry it. Trust is not a feeling. It's a balance sheet of kept promises and clean repairs. You won't stay unshakable by never slipping. You'll stay unshakable by repairing without theatrics when you do. Today is about aftermath mastery, the art of turning a misstep into a stronger floor instead of a trapdoor. You'll install the C.L.E.A.R repair protocol, a 5-move sequence that transforms I'm sorry from a performance into a plan, and pair it with the non-defensive listening loop so you can receive heat without combusting. The result is sturdier relationships, steadier self-respect, and a nervous system that no longer dreads mistakes because it trusts the path back. Calm is not the absence of conflict. It is confidence in recovery. Let the room arrive. Hear the thin electric hum you miss when you rush. Notice the cooler air across your forearms and the warmer pocket under your knees. Your tongue rests against the roof of your mouth. Your jaw drops half a centimeter when you let it. Inhale for 4, hold for 4, exhale for 6, twice. The chair supports you without negotiation. This is where repair begins, not in the other person's reaction, but in the body that will carry your words. You are the awareness, not the emotion. C.L.E.A.R stands for center, locate impact, empathize, ask, rebuild. Center means you regulate your own surge before speaking. 1, 4, 4, 6 breath, shoulders down, rate of speech break engaged. Locate impact means you describe, in plain language, the effect your action likely had on them, not the intention you hoped it had. Empathize means you imagine their inner weather without demanding they calm down first. Ask means you invite a specific request from them. What would rebuild trust here? Rebuild means you propose one concrete process, change, that makes this less likely again. C.L.E.A.R is not groveling, it is leadership under humility. In brain terms, you're moving from limbic defense to prefrontal design. In life terms, you're paying your repair bill with action, not just sentiment. A story from a corridor with fluorescent lights and too much coffee. You snapped at a teammate in a stand-up, a sharp edge that wasn't earned. The room went quiet in that way rooms do when power bites. Old you would justify bad sleep, tight deadline. They interrupted. Trained you runs C.L.E.A.R at your desk 10 minutes later. Center, breath slows, shoulders drop, jaw unhooks. Locate impact. When I cut you off, I probably made you feel small and unsafe to offer ideas. Empathize. If I were you, I'd feel wary about speaking up next time. Ask, what would rebuild trust here? They say, own it to the group and let me finish my updates. Rebuild. I'll add a rule to my notes. No edits until updates end. I'll also set a timer in stand-ups so I don't rush. You return to the team and say a 2-sentence repair. I cut Sam off earlier. That was on me. I'm adding a no edits until updates end rule so I don't repeat it. The room doesn't applaud. It relaxes. Your nervous system logs the pattern. When I break something, I know how to fix it. Feel the fabric at your shoulder. It has a tiny seam you hadn't noticed until you slowed. The light in the room has a color today. Name it quietly. The naming pulls you out of performance and into presence. You are the awareness, not the emotion. Non-defensive listening loop is the second framework. Think of it as a 4-turn spiral. You walk until the heat drops. Mirror, validate, clarify, commit. Mirror means you reflect the gist of what they said without commentary. You felt dismissed when I rescheduled twice. Validate means you name the sense in their reaction even if you wish it were tidier. It makes sense you'd feel that way. Clarify means you ask for the specific data you need to repair. Was it the last-minute text or missing the date entirely? Commit means you state one action you'll take and when. I'll confirm the night before. If I can't, I won't book it. You loop until their body shows signs of downshift, shoulders lower, breath slows, voice loses jagged edges. Your job is not to extract forgiveness. Your job is to make it safe for truth to land. When truth lands, solutions appear. Micro-drill time. It's called the 2-beat pause. When someone finishes a heated sentence, You silently inhale for one slow beat and exhale for one slow beat before you respond. 2 beats are long enough for your prefrontal cortex to reclaim the microphone and for the other person to feel your attention instead of your counter-argument loading. Practice now. Say aloud, "I was hurt when you didn't show." Then count 1 beat in, 1 beat out, and mirror. "You were hurt when I didn't show." Your voice is slow at the edges, not syrupy, just deliberate. Prosody becomes medicine. An anecdote from a kitchen where plates become percussion when people are tired. You promised to handle the grocery run. You didn't. Your partner is scraping a pan louder than necessary. The air is thick with a familiar story. Old you argues intention. "I meant to. I had a meeting." Trained, you runs the loop. Mirror. "You feel like my promises don't stick." Validate. "Of course you're frustrated. The week is heavy and this made it heavier." Clarify. "Was it groceries in general or the timing for dinner?" Commit. "I'm ordering delivery in the next 2 minutes, and I'll own the Sunday list start to finish." Then C.L.E.A.R's rebuild. You create a repeating reminder for the list on Saturday at 10, and you share it with your partner, so the system holds what your memory drops. Later, the room smells like warmed bread, and the plates are quiet. Repair is a ritual that tastes like trust. Notice your breathing position. Send it lower, as if the inhale were widening your sides instead of your chest rising. On the exhale, whisper, "clear," so your mouth learns the shape. Your body listens to the words you give it. You are the awareness, not the emotion. Shame tries to hijack repair by turning the spotlight inward and calling it virtue. It's not. Shame immobilizes, responsibility mobilizes. To keep motion, you'll install the impact intention sentence. It's one line with 2 halves. My impact was X, my intention was Y. You lead with impact so the other person doesn't have to fight for acknowledgement. You include intention to humanize, not to excuse. Then you add the rebuild clause. Here's what I'll do so the impact changes. In practice, my impact was you felt sidelined. My intention was to protect the deadline. I'll loop you earlier and set a decision time so you can weigh in. Neuroscience bridge. Naming impact lowers their threat. Naming intention reduces your defensiveness. And proposing process engages both of your prefrontal cortices where solutions live. Run the palm warm reset and rehearse 1 impact intention sentence from your own week. Rub hands until heat blooms. Cover your eyes. Exhale. Speak the line in a voice you'd respect from someone else. The warmth behind your eyelids teaches your amygdala that correction doesn't equal exile. You stay with yourself while you repair with them. There's a tool for the moments you're accused of more than you did or of motives you don't recognize. It's called the boundary truth bridge. You accept their feeling, state your truth without spike, and propose a next step. I hear that you felt deliberately excluded. I didn't intend exclusion. I moved too fast. Let's name when to loop you and write it so this doesn't repeat. You neither confess to a crime you didn't commit, nor gaslight the other person's experience. Boundary and truth can share a sentence when the exhale is long. Feel the cool on the back of your neck compared to your cheeks. Imagine your breath moving through that coolness like a breeze through leaves. The world is still here. So are you. You are the awareness, not the emotion. Because repair is a muscle, you'll put it on a schedule with the integrity interval. Every Friday, 15 minutes, same chair, you scan your week for 3 categories: promises kept, promises bent, promises broken. For each bent or broken, you write a one-sentence C.L.E.A.R. you'll deliver, and then you deliver at least one of them before the day ends. This is not penance. It's infrastructure. The interval keeps tiny cracks from widening into structural faults. Your reticular activating system learns that missteps lead to movement, not hiding. Hiding is how trust erodes. Movement is how it returns. A workplace scene where the interval saves 6 weeks of resentment. You notice you've been dodging feedback from a direct report because you're afraid you'll look soft. Integrity. Interval reveals 2 bent promises. Open door for hard talk, timely responses. You send a note. I've been slow to respond and it made your work harder. That's on me. Let's set a 15-minute slot Mondays to catch anything blocked. If I miss it, I'll move something else. Monday comes. You show up. The conversation unclogs a decision. The team moves. It wasn't grand. It was honest. To make the loop land in high heat, pair it with a body cue called the listener's posture. Feet flat, knees unlocked, shoulders back and down, chin level, hands open on thighs. You hold steady eye contact for 2 sentences, then soften your gaze to their cheek or collarbone to reduce performance pressure while still signaling presence. Your breath is audible to you, but not to them. This posture flips your vagal switch and telegraphs safety. People speak differently to a body that looks like it won't bolt or bite. A short story on failure that didn't end the story. You shipped a draft to a client with a glaring typo in the headline. They were not kind. The email had edges. Old you spiraled into self-flagellation and midnight revision marathons designed to pay a debt the apology could have paid in 15 minutes. Trained, you ran C.L.E.A.R. and the loop, center. Locate impact. You felt your credibility at risk with your stakeholders. Empathize. That's real. Ask, what rebuilds trust here? They said, proofreaders in the loop and a same-day reissue. Rebuild. You added a checklist step and 2 names. Then you wrote an impact intention sentence with the reissue. Impact. Put you in a bad spot. Intention. Speed. Rebuild. New checklist and second pair of eyes in place. The next review went clean. Your nervous system learned a memory scar that protects, not a bruise that makes you flinch. Check your hands. One is warmer. Switch their position and notice the change. Touch is a dial you can turn even in public. The body is a toolkit. You have access. Sometimes you'll be on the other side. Hurt, not at fault. Ask to be the one who lets it go. Unshakeable includes the ability to ask cleanly for repair without making pain your personality. Use the request rail. It runs on 2 tracks, what you want less of and what you want more of. Each specific and behavioral. Less last-minute canceling, more confirming the night before. You deliver it in a single breath with the rate of speech break engaged. If they can meet you, you'll feel it soon enough. If they won't, the request rail becomes your boundary data, not your campaign slogan. You're not trying to win a debate. You're making a map of where not to drive. The science is simple. When you receive empathy, your anterior cingulate cortex cools and your default mode network quiets. Rumination loses oxygen. When you offer empathy, your own physiology benefits in similar ways. Empathy is not indulgence, it's efficiency. You're trying to move a system from alarm to solution. Empathy is the fastest road there. Tune your senses again. The room's scent has layers: paper, dust, coffee, maybe rain. The air around your ankles is cooler than your lap. Gravity is reliable. You are the awareness, not the emotion. Because we train both sides of repair, here's the self-forgiveness drill that keeps shame from turning today's lesson into tomorrow's avoidance. 3 sentences in a notebook, written as if you were your own coach. I did X. It impacted Y. Next time, I will Z. And here's the cue I'll watch for. Then you close the notebook and take one physical action aligned with Z in the next hour, even if tiny. You're telling your basal ganglia a story with evidence. Mistakes lead to structure. Structure leads to trust. Trust leads to bolder moves. Add one more framework to your after-conflict toolkit, the cool-down covenant. It's a mutual agreement you propose when calm about how you'll both pause and return during heat. It might sound like, if either of us says reset, we take 10 minutes, then we come back at the kitchen table with water and one question: what matters most right now? You write it down where both can see. This is not childish, it's championship behavior. High-performing teams and couples use rituals because rituals work when people's brains don't. An evening vignette where the covenant earns its keep. A plan changes, you both get sharp. You say reset, and the pause feels like defeat for 10 seconds, then like oxygen. You come back, you sit with water, you each answer the question, the air changes shape. The night is saved not by luck, but by design you put in place before you needed it. That is what trained means. Feel the weight of your feet. Press them into the floor as if the building needed to know you're here. Lift your sternum 1 centimeter and notice your breath. Find more room. The body becomes a sanctuary you can carry into any conversation. You are the awareness, not the emotion. For high-stakes apologies, you'll use the 24-hour double step. Step 1, immediate, concise acknowledgement and a plan for the next day's repair conversation. I messed up in the meeting. I want to own it properly. Can we talk tomorrow at 10? Step 2, the full C.L.E.A.R, the next day with the loop woven through. This protects against performative, adrenaline-fueled apologies that feel dramatic and empty. It also lets you gather facts and regulate state so your words land as steady. Steady is believable. Believable repairs. There will be people who don't accept repair. That's their right. Your job is to keep your side of the street clean, then adjust how close your street runs to theirs. The circle of control compass returns. Control your action, influence shared process, accept their no, release the story that you're unworthy. Unshakable isn't universal approval, it's integrity you can sleep beside. Close today with a ritual that threads repair into identity. It's called the evening bridge. You stand in a doorway, hand on the frame, and you speak one sentence toward the day behind you, and one toward the day ahead, toward behind. Where I broke something, I owned it, toward ahead. Where I break something tomorrow, I'll repair it quickly. You breathe 4-4-6 once and step through the door. The body loves doors. It believes you when you cross thresholds with intention. The storm of conflict will always exist because people are bright and bruisable. You can be both too. What changes is what you do next. C.L.E.A.R gives you a road. The loop keeps you on it. The boundary truth bridge protects your spine. The integrity interval prevents drift. The cool-down covenant saves rooms you care about. None of this makes you meek. It makes you trustworthy. And trust is the strongest calm in the world. Place one hand over your heart, one over your belly. Inhale for 4, hold for 4, exhale for 6. Whisper, I rebuild. Feel the words vibrate against bone. That's not poetry, that's programming. Your nervous system tracks promises kept, including promises to return after you slip. And when you keep returning, people trust you. Your own mind trusts you. The sea still throws waves. You surf them, fall, and paddle back with a grin that means, I know the way up. You are not your worst moment, and you're not your best. You are the one who shows up after both. You are the awareness, not the emotion. You are the rebuild. Legacy isn't built in the big speech. It's built in the quiet decision you make 5 minutes before the meeting, when your stomach tightens and the easy path bends you away from who you said you are. Today is about congruence, lining up what you value with what you do when the room watches. You'll install the North Star values scan so your choices carry a spine you can feel, and you'll pair it with the Spotlight Dissolver Protocol, a way to stop performing for imaginary judges and start serving the moment in front of you. When values meet visibility, you stop acting and start leading. Calm becomes character. Let the world touch you. The air is a degree cooler on the back of your hands than on your cheeks. Your chair has edges. Your feet have weight. Inhale for 4, hold for 4, exhale for 6. On the exhale, angle your eyes slightly upward. The reticular activating system follows your gaze. Horizon eyes invite larger options. Your jaw slackens a notch. You are the awareness, not the emotion. The North Star Values Scan is a 60-second alignment check you run before decisions that bend the day. It's not a manifesto, it's a tiny compass that fits in a pocket. You choose 3 values on purpose: clarity, courage, kindness works for many, and pair each with a micro behavior you can enact in the next hour. Clarity becomes, name the goal in 1 sentence before I speak. Courage becomes, say the clean request even if my voice trembles. Kindness becomes, assume best intent once, then ask for specifics. The brain loves pairings. Values alone float. Behavior lands. Neuro-wise, you're moving abstractions into sensory motor plans. The prefrontal cortex translates be courageous into ask this exact question. Now, the RES has targets. When heat rises, your mouth already knows what your spine promised. An ordinary story that bent a career line. You were offered a promotion that glittered and also demanded you manage in a way that broke your sense of fairness. Overtime as loyalty test, praise in public and correction in public too. The email subject line felt like a medal pinned over a bruise. In your kitchen at 7:14 a.m., you ran the North Star Values scan with coffee breath and bare feet on cold tile. Clarity asked, what outcome do I want a year from now? Courage asked, what sentence would I be proud of saying in 10 years? Kindness asked, what protects my team as humans? You felt the weight drop from your shoulders when a simple truth surfaced. The title wasn't worth training your nervous system to betray your own. You called, heart thudding, and said, slower than your heat wanted, that you'd accept only if you could rewrite the expectations and codify private feedback as a norm. They balked, then compromised. You didn't win a war, you aligned a day. The body registered safety. The mind registered respect. You are the awareness, not the emotion. Run the 90-second values pulse to make the scan tactile. Place 1 hand over your heart and 1 over your belly. Breathe 4 to 4-6 3 times. On each exhale, whisper 1 value. Feel where it lands. If courage is a heat behind the sternum, note it. If clarity sits cool in the forehead, note it. If kindness loosens your throat, note it. Then name 1 micro behavior you'll carry into the next room. The amygdala loves specifics. Give it something to hold besides a headline. Because values without friction are stationary, you'll bridge them to reality with a tiny drill called if-then guardrails. This is your modern premeditatio malorum. You imagine the predictable snag and pre-decide the lean. If they interrupt, then I'll lift a palm and say, "Let me finish this piece," then I'll hand it back. If the budget line gets attacked, then I'll ask, which scope item can we cut to protect quality? If my partner starts venting as I walk in the door, then I'll boundary bridge with warmth. Give me 10 minutes to land, then I'm yours. Guardrails shrink chaos. Basal ganglia stores these if-thens like a file of exits in a building you can navigate in the dark. Pause and inventory. Sensation. There's a spot between your shoulder blades that feels like it carries a small stone. Let your exhale melt it by a millimeter. The light in the room has a color. Name it without judging it. The world's detail reduces the mind's drama. You are the awareness, not the emotion. Now the second framework, the Spotlight Dissolver Protocol. The spotlight effect is a brain quirk that convinces you everyone is watching you, grading you, remembering your stumbles in high definition. In truth, people are busy starring in their own internal films. When the imaginary audience swells, your sympathetic system floods, prefrontal clarity drops, your voice gets thin. The dissolver reorients you from "how am I doing" to "what does this moment need?" 4 moves, braided into one. First, switch the camera. Expand your visual field by softening your gaze and catching edges. The door frame, the top left corner of a screen, the shape of the table. Peripheral vision signals safety, your midbrain quiets. Second, name the beneficiary. Say in your head the person this matters for. The client who needs a clean decision. The teammate who risked an idea. My future self, who sleeps better if I tell the truth. Dopamine loves serving. It fuels approach. Third, slow the mouth. Engage the rate of speech break by having your words per minute for the first sentence. Vagal tone follows. Fourth, ask the purpose. Question. If we got just one thing right in the next 5 minutes, what would it be? Purpose cuts through ego like a rope through fog. A scene in a glass-walled conference room where this saved the day. You're presenting a risky pivot. A senior exec interrupts with, "Convince me this isn't naive." Old you would perform persuasion theater. Trained, you dissolves the spotlight. Camera switches. You catch the edge of the window and the green of a plant in the corner. Beneficiary named the customer who's been churn risk for 3 quarters. Mouth slows. Say more about what reads as naive. Purpose question follows. If we got one thing right in the next 5 minutes, is it de-risking the timeline or clarifying viability? The exec chooses timeline. You shift, walking them through staged validation with 2 exit ramps. The room breathes again. You didn't charm, you served. You are the awareness, not the emotion. Tie dissolver and North Star together with a tiny ritual called red thread. Before you enter a room, you state one sentence that ties values to purpose. Clarity serves our customer. Courage protects our timeline. Kindness keeps this team. Today's one thing is a crisp go, no-go. Whisper it on an exhale. The sentence becomes the thread you follow when your mind wants to tangle. Neuroscience translation. You've primed attention networks around purpose-laden cues, so incoming noise gets filtered faster. Translation for life. You sound like a person who knows why they're talking. A sensory check resets your gear. Notice the texture of air in your nose. Cool in, warm out. Feel the subtle drag of your shirt across your ribs as they expand. Hear something faint, and let it be just a sound, not a story. Your nervous system copies the calm you model. You are the awareness, not the emotion. Imposter thoughts love momentum. They fear inquiry. When "who do you think you are" shows up, sit in the narrator's chair from earlier and run a 2-line audit. I'm having the thought that I'm unqualified. Evidence for and against in 60 seconds. Shipped 2 launches. Missed 1 handoff. Asked for help. Learned to recover. The hippocampus stores specifics. Specifics cut through hallucinations. Add 1 more line. Who do I serve in the next sentence? Then speak that sentence. Imposter syndrome is not solved by chanting worthiness. It's diluted by useful action aiming beyond you. There's a personal anecdote in a room with 2 bright lights and a microphone that felt suddenly heavy. You were asked a question you didn't know. Heat climbed your neck like a ladder. The urge to bluff pressed hard. You dissolved the spotlight. Camera to edges, beneficiary named. The junior folks who needed a model for not knowing without crumbling. Mouth slowed. I don't have the number, and I won't guess. Purpose question. Is the useful next step a range with assumptions, or an owner and a timestamp? The room chose owner and timestamp. You assigned it, gave a time, moved on. After, 3 people thanked you for making honesty feel like a tool, not a confession. Your nervous system learned that truth didn't burn the room down, it made oxygen. Add a micro drill that lets values steer voice in real sentences. It's called the 1-line vow. Before a tense call, you write a single line that begins, "In this room, I will," and finish it with a behavior, not a mood. In this room, I will ask 1 real question before I argue. In this room, I will protect the timeline without blaming. In this room, I will name scope instead of fuming. You read it once out loud. Old scripts loosen when new vows have sound. Feel your shoulders move down and out, as if they were finding a shelf that fits them. Your palms rest heavy, warmer than the air. Your breath thickens like it's moving through velvet. The body is a permission slip you write yourself. You are the awareness, not the emotion. People will test your values not because they're villains, but because systems take the shape of whoever shows up most consistently. To keep consistency when pressure spikes, you'll use the 2-window choice. Window 1 is the next 5 minutes. Window 2 is 6 months from now. When an email invites you to cut a corner, you ask, what preserves integrity in 5 minutes, and what preserves reputation in 6 months? Often the same action answers both. Slow down, ask for time, or constrain scope. Your amygdala loves the quick fix. Your prefrontal loves the long arc. Put them in the same conversation, and you'll pick moves that feel good twice. A neighborhood story where you practiced in jeans, not suits. A barista charged you wrong and undercharged by a lot. You noticed as your hand warmed around the cup. Old you might have rationalized a win against the world. Trained, you ran the scan. Clarity says speak. Courage says risk the awkward. Kindness says protect their drawer. You turned back and said, "Hey, I think you missed a 0. They exhaled like a tire refinding pavement. "Thank you. I would have had to make up the difference." You walked away $2 lighter and a bit taller. Values practiced when stakes are small show up when stakes are live. Because we build identity with evidence, you'll keep a red thread log for 1 week. Nightly, 3 lines, 1 values behavior you enacted, one spotlight you dissolved, one sentence you'd say again. The negativity bias fades when you feed the hippocampus balanced data. Over 7 days, you'll read a pattern that looks like someone becoming who they said they would be, which is the only kind of confidence that doesn't wobble when lights glare. Notice the scent of the room, paper, dust, coffee, rain. Tiny details nudge you from concept to contact. Calm isn't a theory. It's a practice with air and ribs and the angle of your gaze. You are the awareness, not the emotion. For days when values and visibility collide hard, pair both frameworks with the emergency anchor called purpose breath. It's just 1-4-4-6 with a whispered "for them" on the exhale. The anterior cingulate love's purpose. Pain signals reduce when meaning is present. You'll feel it as 1 more inch of room inside your chest. Sometimes 1 inch is the difference between a flinch and a sentence that lands. You may wonder if living by values makes you rigid. It won't. If you keep the second half of the scan alive, the micro-behavior flexes with the scene. Clarity might be a question today and a diagram tomorrow. Courage might be a no in one meeting and a yes to take the hit for your team in another. Kindness could be softness with someone's fear or firmness with their excuses. Flexibility inside fidelity is adulthood. The identity line stays. The choreography adapts. Close with the rehearsal, you can run wherever you sit. Picture a future room you care about, a performance review, a pitch, a conversation about money with someone you love. Run the North Star values scan and say your 3 behaviors out loud. Run the spotlight dissolver, soften gaze, name beneficiary, slow mouth, ask purpose. Write your 1-line vow, whisper the purpose breath, then watch yourself say the first sentence you'll choose. See the shoulders in the room drop, yours included. The movie isn't fantasy, it's priming. When the day arrives, your body will recognize the scene as familiar and move toward the mark you set. Feel the floors, loyalty beneath your feet. Put your tongue on the roof of your mouth and notice your neck thank you. Inhale for 4, hold for 4, exhale for 6. Whisper the identity you're growing. I align action with purpose. That sounds like a slogan until it sounds like your voice. The world doesn't need theatrics. It needs people who can be seen and stay themselves, who can speak and still listen, who can carry rank without losing soul. That's what Unshakable looks like when the lights are on. You won't always get it right. Good. Repair is trained. Return is trained. Values are trained. Visibility becomes a practice field. You keep building your North Star. You keep dissolving spotlights. You keep serving what matters more than how you look. Rooms will change around you because rooms follow gravity, and gravity follows people who have chosen what they stand for in the quiet and kept choosing when the air went hot. You are the awareness, not the emotion. You're the one who remembers why. Indecision is a quiet thief. It doesn't slam doors. It leaves them cracked, so drafts whistle through your day. Your stomach tightens, your jaw works overtime, your cursor hovers over schedule and never lands. The brain floods the body with what if, and your hands forget what certainty feels like. You tell yourself you're being prudent, really you're rehearsing fear. Today, you'll install a simple way to choose under heat without wrecking futures, the Greenlight Doors Protocol. You'll pair it with the closure triangle so your brain stops dragging half-finished threads through every room you enter. When choice and closure become skills, momentum replaces mood. You move, you learn, you return steadier. That's not a personality change. That's trained navigation. Feel the room as proof you're in one place. The air is cooler along the ridge of your nose than on your cheeks. Your chair has edges you can name. Your feet have weight. Inhale for 4, hold for 4, exhale for 6, twice. Each exhale is a small permission slip. The reticular activating system follows instructions. You just gave it, "We're safe enough to decide." Uncertainty spikes amygdala alarms. Labeling the kind of decision pulls blood back to your prefrontal cortex. You are the awareness, not the emotion. The Greenlight Doors Protocol has 2 moves braided into one. First, you run the 2-door test. Is this a one-way door or a revolving door? One-way doors are hard to reverse. Resigning a role, signing a binding contract, publishing something irretrievable. Revolving doors swing both ways, drafting an email, testing a habit, sending a prototype to 5 friendly users. Second, you apply the 70% green light. If it's a revolving door and you have roughly 70% clarity, you act now. If it's a one-way door, you slow just long enough to set 2 fail-safes and a review time. You're not guessing, you're sorting. In brain terms, you're moving from threat ambiguity to category clarity, which lowers cortisol and increases task initiation. In life terms, you stop treating choosing a meeting snack like choosing a spouse. Live example at work. You're stuck on whether to pitch a risky pivot in Tuesday's steering meeting. Your chest tightens each time you open the deck. 2-door test. The pitch is a revolving door. You can float a hypothesis and iterate next sprint. 70% green light. You know the customer pain and the possible win. The uncertainty is timetable and scope. You greenlight with 1 micro guardrail. I'll ask for permission to test on a small segment before any global change. You enter the room with a long exhale and the spotlight dissolver from earlier. Soften your gaze, name the beneficiary, slow the mouth. Proposal, a 2-week test with exit ramps at day 3 and day 10. If we get X signal, we expand. If not, we close. The room's shoulders drop because decisions with exit ramps feel like air. You didn't get brave, you got specific. You are the awareness, not the emotion. Make the protocol tactile with the decision card micro drill. On a small card, paper, or notes app, you write 3 lines. What I know. What I'll learn by acting within 48 hours. Smallest step now. For the pitch, it reads, No churn spike in cohort B. Learn adoption rate on paired feature. Step, book 10-minute slot on agenda. Draft test brief. Your hippocampus stores specifics. Specifics weaken imaginary catastrophes. Dopamine marks progress, not perfection. When your thumb touches the card, the body remembers the next move. Pause. Rub your palms until warmth blooms. Press them briefly over your eyes. Exhale. The world dims for a breath. The alarm quiets. When you lower your hands, notice 3 details without judgment. The color gradient on a wall, a scratch on the desk, the distant hum that sounds like rain but isn't. Sensation breaks rumination's loop. You are the awareness, not the emotion. The second framework is the closure triangle. Define, do, display. Define means you mark the edges of the task in 1 sentence, including done when. Do means you execute the smallest honest slice. Display means you show completion to your own nervous system and, when needed, to others with a visible receipt. The brain loves closure. Zeigarnik taught us unfinished loops hoard attention. When you display, you give your RAS a flag that says, archive this, it's safe. That display can be a 2-line summary in your doc, a shipped note to the team, or a check mark on a paper where your pen squeaks audibly. That squeak is not childish, it's sensory punctuation for your habit centers. Personal story, small stakes that compound. You keep circling a gym decision. Stay at the crowded place close to home, or try the quieter one 10 minutes farther. You read reviews until your eyes glaze. Two-door test. A month-to-month membership is a revolving door. 70% Greenlight. You prefer quiet. The cost difference is negligible. Decision card says, no, evening crowds crush focus. Learn, morning vibe at new gym. Step, buy a day pass and go twice this week. Closure. Triangle defines done when I complete 2 sessions and jot 3 lines after each. You go. The rubber smell is stronger, the light softer, the rack open. After 2 visits, your body votes, you switch. The weeks that follow carry better sleep and steadier training. None of it needed a manifesto. It needed a door, a threshold, and a receipt. Feel your breath thicken like it's moving through velvet on the exhale. The skin on your forearms is cooler than your chest. Notice the difference. Lean your tongue to the roof of your mouth. Your jaw says thank you by releasing a millimeter. This is not decor, it's leverage. Physiology buys cognition. Uncertainty loves to dress up as virtue. I'm just being thorough, you say, while your inner weather howls. A science bridge. Uncertainty raises norepinephrine. Sustained high levels reduce prefrontal flexibility and increase error-prone vigilance. Translation. Endless research makes you worse at choosing. The fix is not recklessness, it's a decision threshold you trust. You set the 70% for revolving doors because at that point, the best data is on the other side of action. You set fail-safes for one-way doors because you respect consequences. The amygdala calms when it sees rails. You are the awareness, not the emotion. Anecdote from a team room with coffee that tastes like ambition and fear mixed. The roadmap is jammed. 3 managers stall, each waiting for perfect alignment. You draw 2 columns on the whiteboard, one-way doors, revolving doors. You sort backlog items with them in 6 minutes. Revolving doors get 70% green lights with tiny tests and a 3-question after action. What did we expect? What happened? What's the next slice? One-ways get a slower cadence with risk review and an explicit owner. The room exhales in visible waves. 2 weeks later, 4 small bets returned signal. 1 died fast, 1 became a surprising winner. The team's identity shifts from blocked to iterating. You didn't change their souls, you changed their math. Install a second micro drill, the regret to relief flip. When you're stuck, run a 90-second fast forward in 2 directions. First, imagine you delay for another week. Feel the regret in your chest. Name its texture, stale, heavy, dull. Second, imagine you ship a tiny slice today. Feel the relief's texture, light, moving, slightly warm. Your insula maps both. Choose the path whose body signal matches your values, and the closure triangle. The brain overweights imagined loss. This drill rebiases toward learned relief. Pause and scan the room for 1 sound at each distance, near, mid, far. The near might be your breath, the mid a fan, the far a car trail. Triangulating sound grounds the nervous system when choice feels like free fall. You are the awareness, not the emotion. One more story, because lives change in kitchens as often as boardrooms. It's late. Your phone glows with a message that misreads your intention and stings. Your fingers script a brilliant defense, 2 screens long. 2-door test. Sending at midnight with heat in your fingers is a one-way door for trust. Greenlight says wait and set 2 fail-safes. Schedule for 9 a.m., reread after breath, and, if still heated, run the non-defensive loop with a call, not a novel. Closure triangle defines a different done when. Draft clean, sleep, revisit with slow mouth. Morning, you trims 20 sentences to 3. Mirror, clarify, propose a repair. The conversation ends with a plan instead of scorched earth. The identity you practice here is not saintly, it's sane. Make the Greenlight Doors Protocol part of your architecture with a simple placement cue. Tape a small dot, red for one-way, green for revolving, on the corner of your screen. When stuck, touch the dot, ask which door, and breathe 446 once. The dot becomes a portal from swirl to sort. Over weeks, your hand will move before your panic does. Neuroplasticity is repetition with attention. This is both. Another sensory beat. The back of your neck is cooler than your cheeks. Let your next exhale imagine moving across that coolness like a breeze. The ribs glide shut without slam. The chair receives you. Your body is the room you carry into rooms. You are the awareness, not the emotion. Because closure feeds confidence, you'll craft receipts, small visible artifacts of completion your brain can count. A sent summary, a ticked box, a V1 shipped line in a log. The negativity bias will try to ignore these. It prefers drama. You retrain it by reading your receipts aloud once a day. Not bragging, calibrating. Drafted the memo spine, tested the headline, called the landlord. Each line is a weight plate for identity. I am a person who finishes honest slices. Science, kept on a short leash to usefulness. Each completed loop releases a small dopamine pulse tied to prediction error. I expected friction. I got progress. If you mark it, your brain flags that path as worth repeating. If you rush past it, your brain registers only the pain of starting. Marking receipts is not indulgence. It's efficiency training for motivation. A vignette on career shape-shifting. You're deciding whether to apply for a role that stretches you sideways. Two-door test. Applying is a revolving door. Accepting might be one way. 70% Greenlight says apply this week with a closure triangle. Done when? Resume refreshed, 2 stories rehearsed, email sent to 1 contact. You do it. An interview appears. Before it, you pre-decide exit ramps if the offer demands a values bend. You walk in with the North Star and the spotlight dissolver in your pocket. The yes or no won't define you. The way you choose will. Feel your hands. One is warmer. Switch their position. Notice the subtle bloom of heat where they land. Small changes, immediate feedback. That's the whole game. You are the awareness, not the emotion. For days when everything looks like a one-way door, because you're tired, run the 5% threshold. You lower the green light to 50% for tiny reversible steps, and you add mercy. If off course, return within 1 minute without commentary. Decision fatigue often masquerades as high stakes. It's usually low sugar and low sleep. Eat, sip, breathe, then choose the smallest door now. Close this session with an integrated rehearsal you can do from your chair. Picture the decision that's been buzzing at your ankles. Name the door. If it's revolving, say 70 is enough, and pick the smallest step. If it's one way, set 2 fail-safes and a review time, then choose the next inch that moves it toward clarity. Write the decision card. Define the done when. Do the inch. Display the receipt, even if only to yourself. Feel your chest soften by 1 notch. That notch is not decoration. It's a new default installing. Before we end, take 1 breath long enough that the exhale feels like a soft rope unfurling. Whisper a sentence that ties choice to identity. I decide in inches and learn in loops. Say it once more so your mouth believes your mind. This is not about never wavering. It's about never living in the doorway. Doors are for passing through. Rooms are for living. You'll keep practicing until movement feels like home. You put a hand over your heart and one over your belly. Inhale for 4, hold for 4, exhale for 6. The room is still here. So are you, steadier by practice, not by accident. When the next fork arrives, and it will, you won't wait for bravery to strike. You'll sort the door, set the rails, move 1 inch, and mark the step. The storm doesn't care, the sailor does. You are the awareness, not the emotion. Streaks feel like safety until they snap. One late night, one missed workout, one fight that stains your morning, and suddenly the old tide pulls at your ankles. Your chest tightens, your mouth tastes like metal, your brain whispers the dirtiest lie it knows. Back to zero. Not true. Today you'll build relapse-proof consistency, the art of returning so fast the miss becomes part of the method. You'll install the Floor Then More protocol, which sets a dignified baseline and a flexible boost so you stop playing all or nothing, and you'll pair it with the friction sculpting blueprint, a way to shape your environment until your habits are the path of least resistance. When return is built in, calm stops being a mood and becomes a rhythm. Feel your tongue rest against the roof of your mouth. Let your shoulders drop into their sockets as if they were finding the right hanger. Inhale for 4, hold for 4, exhale for 6. Hear the thin hum in the room you usually ignore. The air on your forearms is 1 degree, cooler than your cheeks. Your nervous system listens to this kind attention. It uncoils by millimeters. You are the awareness, not the emotion. The Floor Then More protocol is your antidote to fragile streaks. You define a baseline floor you will do on your worst day and a boost you will add on your better days. Floor is microscopic and non-negotiable. More is optional and opportunistic. The genius is not the ambition, it's the dignity of the floor. Baseline breath might be 2 rounds of 4-4-6. Baseline movement might be 1 minute of cat-cow or a slow hallway lap. Baseline focus might be opening the document and typing 3 true sentences. On better days, you add the more, 10 rounds, a full session, a fence-protected block. Neuroscience translation: the basal ganglia stores start scripts more reliably than perfect scripts, and dopamine rewards completion, not heroics. Floor Then More keeps the start intact, so identity stays intact. In life language, you never begin again, you continue. Test it with something that matters and reliably slips. Imagine an evening where your brain feels like static and your phone feels like a warm escape. Old you would aim for a 45-minute session and then do 0. Trained, you sets the floor, 3 sentences, not a page. 2 4-4-6, not 10. 1 clarifying message, not an inbox crusade. You aim embarrassingly small on purpose. The floor doesn't impress anyone. It protects everyone, especially the part of you that needs to know you can keep a promise when the weather is ugly. Picture a Monday that tried to drown you, an early airport, stale air, a snack that pretended to be a breakfast, a seatmate who wanted to pitch a startup over your headphones. At 6:40 p.m., you stumble into your apartment. The kitchen light is a little too blue. Your jaw is a vice. Old you would collapse into a couch scroll and call it decompressing. Then hate the shape of the night. Trained, you runs Floor Then More like a firefighter snapping gear on. You put a glass under the tap and watch the water bead on the rim as you breathe 4-4-6 twice. Floor. You stand and sway your hips in 2 slow figure eights while you feel your feet remember weight. Floor. You open the doc and type 3 sentences with no punctuation because you're too tired to care. Floor. The body recognizes continuity. The shame you would have dragged to bed never arrives. 5 minutes later, maybe you surprise yourself and add a paragraph. Maybe not. Either way, your ledger stays green. You are the awareness, not the emotion. The brain loves thresholds. To make the floor sticky, anchor it to bookends with a 2-minute ritual called doors and docks. Door is your evening floor the moment you close the front door. Water. Breath. 1 sentence. Dock is your morning floor the moment you sit at your desk. Breath. 1 question. 3 words typed. Door and dock turn transition spaces into identity checkpoints. The hippocampus encodes places with acts, and soon the doorknob itself feels like a bell that rings you back. There's a science bridge you can feel in your bones. When you perform a minimal action successfully, your dopamine system flags, "This path works." When you repeat it across days, myelin wraps that path. The signal travels faster. Floors don't just keep streaks alive, they make your nervous system generous. Generous systems don't panic when they miss a beat. They re-enter on the next measure. Touch your thumb to your index finger and trace a slow circle. Feel the skin warm, the small drag of friction smoothing. Listen for a mid-distant sound. Refrigerator hum, traffic hush, someone laughing down the hall. Your situational awareness widens. Your pulse ticks down. You are the awareness, not the emotion. Now build the environment that makes the floor easier than the fall. The friction sculpting blueprint has 1 principle with 2 hands. Remove friction from the behavior you want. Add friction to the behavior you don't. You're not relying on iron will. You're carving the slope of your day. Put your shoes by the door with the laces loosened and a water bottle already filled. That's removed friction. Charge your phone in the hallway with a 10-foot cord and set the screen to grayscale after 9. That's added friction. Keep the document you're avoiding pinned to your dock and open full screen on launch. Bury the News tab in a folder named Later and literally tape a sticky note over its icon that says Later, kinder. It's not cute. It's a physical intercept. Choice architecture isn't ethics class. It's how supermarkets move end caps. Move yours toward who you say you are. A small story from a couch where many nights are lost and a few are reclaimed. It's 11:07 p.m. Your phone glows with bottomless novelty, and your spine is becoming the shape of a question mark. The old dance begins. Just 1 more scroll, which is never 1, which is never more. You catch the heat behind your eyes. You stand, grumbling, and plug the phone into the hallway charger because the hallway is far enough to make you reconsider and close enough to not be heroic. The screen blooms gray. Your brain sighs at the loss of candy colors. You walk back to a bedroom where the air is cooler than your skin. Floor, then more whispers. 2, 4, 4, 6. You place a hand on your belly and 1 on your chest. You breathe. Your jaw softens. Sleep arrives with less bargaining. The problem wasn't moral weakness. It was friction pointed the wrong way. You re-aimed it. Make sculpting immediate with a micro drill called 1-minute stage. Before you leave a space, you spend 1 minute staging the next use. If it's your desk, you close tabs. Leave the dock open with a half sentence that begs to be finished, and put water within reach. If it's the kitchen, you set a pan on the stove and a bowl on the counter, so breakfast feels like continuing, not inventing. If it's the gym bag, you pack it and lay it where you'll trip on it. A future self who doesn't need to rummage is a self who starts. Sensory check. Feel the temperature at your collarbones. It's probably cooler than your sternum. Let your next exhale imagine sliding across that coolness like a skater on new ice. The room comes into focus not because it changed, but because you did. You are the awareness, not the emotion. Misses will still happen. The point is not avoidance. It's return without theater. Build the rapid 3R return into your floor. Recognize, reduce, re-enter. Recognize is the neutral label. Missed the morning fence. Reduce is the shrink. Tonight's floor only. Re-enter is the action in the next minute. Water, breath, 3 sentences. No confessions, no speeches. Your nervous system learns that mistakes are a station, not a destination. Shame loses leverage because the cost of return is small and known. An afternoon in a glass office where your calendar looked like a bad Tetris game, 3 back-to-back meetings turned into 5 because time is a rumor. You watch the fence you defended so proudly yesterday evaporate. Old you would torch the day, then compensate with midnight heroics in a bitter mood. Trained, you runs 3R. Recognize, you whisper, missed. Reduce, you decide the boost is gone today. Only floor. Re-enter, you step into the hallway, sip water, breathe twice, and type 3 sentences into the doc in the 60 seconds between calls. That tiny re-entry keeps the thread alive. At 5:40, you leave a 2-line receipt in the team channel. Spine drafted. Next pass tomorrow, 10:12. The room doesn't clap. Your nervous system does. Here's the psychology pop bridge you can use as a lever. The brain encodes, I am a person who, from repeated behaviors, not declarations. When you complete a floor under friction, you grant yourself a vote louder than any pep talk. You are a person who returns. Votes add up. Identity stabilizes. Choices feel lighter. That's what people mean when they say discipline gets easier. They're describing a nervous system calibrated to expect return. Notice the smell in the air. Paper, dust, coffee, rain. If you can't name it, call it room. A scent with dignity. Let your shoulders drop 1 notch. Exhale longer than you planned. The world becomes easier to carry when your rib cage moves like a door that works. There's a relationship variant you'll need because consistency isn't just about emails and squats. You promised your partner you'd do a weekly check-in, then work 8 your Thursday. The old loop would be overcompensate with a long speech or hide behind busy. Use floor then more and 3R. Recognize we skipped. Reduce 10-minute check-in, not an hour. Re-enter. I missed our slot. Can we do 10 minutes with 2 questions after dinner? You do it. You ask, what touched you this week and what would make next week easier? The ritual survives because you shrank it instead of shelving it. Trust is a rhythm. You protected the beat. Make the floor sticky with a tiny identity lock called the 2-word badge. You choose a pair. Returning person, floor keeper, steady sailor. You whisper it as you do the smallest act. Words glued to motion stick. Later, when you feel the slip, the badge surfaces unbidden. You mutter, floor keeper, and your hand reaches for the glass, and your mouth starts the 4 to 4-6 without ceremony. That's not magic. That's language teaching muscle. Feel the back of your neck. It's cooler than your cheeks. Run 1 exhale past your habitual stopping point and imagine the breath moving across that cool skin. Your jaw releases a sliver more. You are the awareness, not the emotion. The friction blueprint has a tougher cousin for truly sticky patterns, the cost-first cue. Before you indulge a habit you're trying to quiet. Doom scrolling, late-night email, combustible replies. You pay a small cost that buys you awareness. Maybe it's 10 bodyweight squats, or a glass of water, or writing one sentence about why you're opening the app. Often the cost is enough to wake the chooser. If you still choose the indulgence, you do it awake and set a timer with an exit. This isn't punishment, it's price transparency. Compulsions hate invoices. A story from 7:03 a.m., socks mismatched, coffee slightly bitter, inbox pretending to be urgent. You see a subject line that makes your jaw buzz. We need to talk about expectations. Your fingers want to fire back sentences with edges. Cost first cue intervenes. You must do 1:4 to 4:6 and write, I'm having the thought that they're attacking me. You breathe. The sentence punctures the story. You ask a one-line clarifying question instead. Which expectation felt unclear? And you propose a 10-minute sync. The day moves without damage. The cost saved you interest. Let's stitch the two frameworks to your calendar with a quiet ceremony called the Whiteboard Week. Sunday evening, you stand in front of a page, paper or screen, doesn't matter, and you write 5 floors and 3 mores that matter. Floors are the smallest units of breath, movement, focus, repair, connection. Mores are the nice-to-haves you'll plug in when energy is generous. You don't schedule heroics, you schedule continuity. You draw a small square for each day, and at night you mark the floors you hit. The squeak of the pen is the sound of identity installing. Your reticular activating system starts hunting for opportunities to check those boxes while you're living. It feels like luck. It's a map. Sensory again because bodies run this show. Touch your fingertips to your temples. Heat blooms. Press, release. Hear one far sound. Name it a dot in space. The mind quiets where the map has anchors. Sometimes you'll fall off not for a day, but for a week. Travel, illness, grief, or just a dense chunk of life. When you re-enter, your critic will try to negotiate terms. Double up, punish back. Start on Monday when you're perfect. Decline politely. Use the 24-hour gentle reset. In the next 24 hours, you will execute only floors, and you will log 1 sentence of proof. 2, 4, 4, 6, 1 hallway lap, 3 sentences, 1 repair, 1 check-in. Tiny. Complete. The point is to teach your nervous system that return is near and kind. Kind doesn't mean soft, it means fast. A final vignette before you go build this for real. It's raining the color of tin. You miss the bus, you spill coffee on your shirt, a colleague posts the draft you asked them not to share. By 2:15 p.m., your internal weather is a petty hailstorm. Old you would burn the rest of the day in little angers, then stay up late to catch up, then wake brittle. Trained, you checks the whiteboard, floors only. You step outside under a shallow awning and breathe 2 rounds. You send 1 clean sentence. Please delete the post we agreed to share after review. You write 3 real sentences in the doc. You text your partner at 5:12. 10-minute check-in after dinner? And you keep it to 10. None of it is heroic. All of it is dignified. You slide into bed and your chest doesn't rattle with should. You kept a rhythm in weather. That's unshakable. Place a hand on your belly and 1 on your heart. Inhale for 4, hold for 4, exhale for 6. Whisper this into the space your breath leaves behind. Floor before more. Feel the words as a weight that keeps your boat steady when the water chops. That phrase is not cute, it is architecture. Friction aimed well is scaffolding. Floors held often are rails. The storm can throw its shoulder. You'll still step where you said. You are the awareness, not the emotion. Now, Rehearse tomorrow out loud. At the door, water and breath. At the dock, breath and 3 words typed. At the couch, a phone that lives in a hallway. At the desk, a document that opens already mid-sentence. At the night, a squeak of a pen marking floors done. See your body moving through this like a person who knows where the light switches are in their own house. That's what you're building, familiarity with your return. It will look boring to people who love drama. It will feel like freedom to you. When you miss, you recognize, reduce, re-enter. When you wobble, you whisper the badge and touch the rails. When you have energy, you add more with a grin because you want to, not because you have to. The identity landing under all this is not disciplined robot. It's reliable human. Reliable is sexy. Reliable is calm, disguised as competence. Reliable is how your future keeps arriving on time. Breathe once more. Feel the cool at the tip of your nose and the warmth on the way out. The room is simple. Your next step is too. The floor is waiting. Step onto it. Pressure doesn't create character. It reveals your training. And then, if you're awake, it upgrades it. Today is about scaling your calm beyond your own skin. How to steady a room when eyes turn to you and clocks go loud. You'll build the Cascading Calm protocol, a leadership-grade move that turns panic into coordinated action in under 2 minutes, and pair it with the signal stack, a way to strip noise down to facts, meanings, and moves so decisions don't drown in commentary. When you run these, your nervous system becomes a public service. People breathe because you breathe. They choose because you choose. That's not ego, that's stewardship. Touch the world first so it can trust you. The chair has a slight ridge at the front. Feel it against your thighs. The air at the tip of your nose is cooler than the air leaving your mouth. Your feet spread into the floor. Your toes wake up inside your shoes. Inhale for 4, hold for 4, exhale for 6. Twice. Your jaw releases a degree you didn't know it was gripping. The reticular activating system hears the message. Horizon, not hallway. You are the awareness, not the emotion. Cascading, calm begins where all good leadership begins. In your body, then in your mouth, then in the room. It runs in 4 moves that flow like one. First, set state. You take 1 visible slow breath and open your posture. This isn't theater, it's contagion. Vagal tone mirrors. When your thorax expands and your voice slows, other systems de-threat. Second, state intent. 1 sentence that names the purpose and the time box. Our job in the next 10 is to stop the bleed. Third, select. 3. Name the top 3 priorities that hold the system together and the single constraint that cannot break. Keep customers informed, stop regression, capture evidence, do not ship unreviewed code. Fourth, sync the clock, set the next check-in and the owner of the next update. We regroup in 8, Priya owns status. The protocol is not a speech, it's scaffolding. In brain language, you're lowering limbic noise and loading prefrontal plans. In life language, you're handling it. A story from a war room that smelled like coffee and adrenaline. 7:42 p.m., a production bug, flood support, dashboards go Christmas, Slack threads multiply like frightened rabbits. Old you would have typed faster, talked faster, and hoped speed felt like progress. Trained, you stepped into the channel and ran Cascading Calm. You posted a 20-second voice note because tone carries safety. Long exhale audible, shoulders down, words slow. State, outage on checkout, intent, stabilize in 10, select 3, freeze deploys, spin up rollback, open a customer banner, constraint, no hotfix without second eyes, Priya owns status, Next check at 7:52. The room changed shape. People stopped narrating panic and started moving. 8 minutes later, rollback held, banner was live, root cause was in a log, and two conversations that would have become blame turned into process. Changes. You didn't shout. You set state, intent. 3. Clock. The team learned what your system already knew. Calm is not the absence of threat. It's the presence of a protocol. Notice the soundscape now. A far siren you can barely hear, a fan that seems embarrassed by its own whir, the hum inside your own ears that feels like company. Your breath loosens your ribs at their side edges. That detail means your body is more available for words that guide instead of jab. You are the awareness, not the emotion. The signal stack is the second frame you'll run inside Cascades or anywhere clutter breeds. It has 3 layers that you separate with ruthless gentleness. What is true? What it might mean? What we'll do now? True is ground facts with timestamps and sources. At 7:41, checkout errors spiked to 19% after deploy 311. Logs show null pointers in payment service. Might mean is your best current story held lightly. Likely a bad serialization change, potential spillover to refunds. Do now is the smallest wise action aligned with your constraint and intent. Roll back to 310, turn on banner, assign pair to diff 301. By stacking signals, you stop rooms from arguing feelings when facts can be named, and you stop facts from sitting inert when moves must be chosen. Neuroscience is your ally. Prefrontal cortex loves structured information. Amygdala loves drama. Feed the PFC first. Drama can wait outside. Practice in one breath with the one breath brief. You will speak one sentence per layer, then stop. True. Deploy 311 correlates with 19% checkout errors since 741, meaning likely serialization issue, risk to refunds. Do rollback to 310, banner on, Priya and Min own diff. Then you breathe, visibly. The breath is the punctuation that tells the room you are not afraid of silence. Silence is where thinking fits. Feel the temperature just under your collarbone. It's cooler than the center of your chest. On your next exhale, imagine the breath sliding across that cooler spot like a ribbon. Your neck releases one notch. That notch is space for better nouns. There's a corridor variant when the crisis is human, not technical. A teammate melts down in a meeting, voice cracking, words sharp. Old you would freeze or counterpunch. Trained you runs Cascading Calm inside the non-defensive loop. Set state, shoulders open, breath audible. State intent. Goal in the next 5 is to hear and steady. Select. 3. Mirror what I hear, find the specific, propose next step, constraint, no diagnoses of character. Sync the clock. 2 minutes now, follow up at 4, then your signal stack. True, you were left off that thread twice. Might mean your worried decisions are moving without you. Do. I'll name a loop-in rule now, and we'll put it in writing at 4. 2 minutes of steadying hands on the wheel rescues 2 weeks of trust. People remember how you made their bodies feel under heat more than your exact words. Make their bodies feel safe enough to think. The body tells you when you get it right. Your palms warm, your breath rounds, your eyes stop scanning like a deer at a freeway ramp. You are the awareness, not the emotion. A micro drill called Map Then Message makes signal stacking automatic. Before you type or speak, you scribble 3 lines labeled TMD. You fill each with one sentence, then you deliver aloud in that order. The scribble takes 15 seconds and arrests the theater your limbic system wants to produce. If someone else spirals, you ask them for their TMD. You catch facts, separate stories, and coax a move. The respect embedded in that structure is palpable. It says, I think you can think. When the room tilts toward frenzy, add a second micro-drill, the 60-second solitude. You call a literal minute where no one speaks and everyone writes their TMD silently. Pen on paper lowers arousal. The anterior cingulate quiets under motor focus. The collective temperature drops. You say, pen's up. Then you run a round robin with one-sentence shares. A minute of quiet puts an hour back on the clock. Tune your senses again because leadership is a sensory skill. The light has a color with an undertone, cool blue, warm amber. Name it without opinion. The smell is something you can identify, dust, citrus, rain. The floor is a partner. Weight moves through your heels like a message delivered. You are the awareness, not the emotion. To prevent crisis from consuming the week, graft a ritual called Commander's Debrief. It's a 5-minute after action. Calm conducted without blame. You answer 3 questions out loud. What did we intend? What happened? What will we do differently at the level of process, not personality? You capture one change in a checklist that lives where work begins, not in a graveyard dock. Then you end with a breath and one gratitude aimed at behavior, not heroics. Thanks for freezing deploys without being asked. That reflex is culture. Dopamine bonds to specifics. You are training future reflexes, not applauding luck. Here's the relational twin, the Keystone conversation. Once a quarter, you pick one relationship that holds weight in your life, and you initiate a talk that sets rails for the next season. You run Cascading Calm to open, breath, posture, intent. I want us to be more honest without heat. You select 3 practices and 1 constraint. Weekly 10-minute check-in, 1 hard truth each, 1 repair under 24 hours. Constraint, no sarcasm as a weapon. You sync the clock. Sundays at 7 for 5 weeks, then we revisit. Keystone talks are not spontaneous brilliance. They are planned scaffolds that save you from preventable storms. An anecdote from a stage where the spotlight tried to swallow your throat. You were asked, live, to answer a question you didn't understand. The room smelled like wood polish. Your chest felt like thin glass. Old you would have faked fluency and hoped nobody noticed. Trained you ran the spotlight dissolver, then the one-breath brief on your own ignorance. You softened your gaze to the edges of the podium, named the beneficiary, the audience needing truth. You slowed your mouth. True, I don't understand your question as asked, meaning, if I answer now, I'll miss. Do. Say it back in my words, and you tell me what I'm missing. The room laughed with relief. The questioner rephrased. The conversation became one you could contribute to. Calm is often a humble sentence delivered on a long exhale. Notice how your cheeks warm faster than your forearms. Let the next breath organize your face. It will. The body follows you when you stop shouting at it. Because leadership demands boundaries, you'll weave the boundary bridge into your protocols as a standard clause. After you set state and state intent, you add one line that protects the team's nervous system. We will not answer DMs during the next 10 minutes. All updates go in thread. The constraint isn't control, it's care. The basal ganglia loves rules that reduce search cost. People remember the rooms where they didn't have to guess. Science bridge, quick and useful. Under acute stress, adrenaline pegs and cortisol spikes. Working memory shrinks. The prefrontal cortex defers to older, faster circuits. Your job is to buy back working memory by compressing choices and lengthening exhale. You compress choices with Select 3 and signal stacks. You lengthen exhale with a visible breath before you speak. That combination returns blood to the PFC. Ideas return to the table. You're not magical, you're mechanical. A home story where Cascading Calm saved a night that wanted to tip. You walked into a living room that looked like a playroom exploded. A kid cried in that saw-toothed way that means hungry and overtired at once. Your partner's eyes had that thin glaze of adult depletion. Old, you would have sighed at volume and tried to fix everything at once. Trained, you breathed audibly enough for small ears to hear. Intent. Cozy in 15. 3. Food, bath, story. Constraint, no screens. You moved like water around furniture, mini sandwich, warm water, soft voice. You said the same sentence 3 times like a bell. Story, when food and bath are done. 15 minutes later, there was a blanket cave and a book you've read 100 times, and a nervous system that learned home means someone knows what to do. That someone was you being ordinary and therefore extraordinary. Feel the line of your spine as if someone gently drew a string from the top of your head. Your chin levels. The back of your neck cools where air meets skin. You are the awareness, not the emotion. To bake calm into the calendar, create a ritual called Monday Mandate. It's a 5-minute team open where you run signal stacks on the week itself. True, 3 deadlines, 1 dependency on legal, meaning risk clusters around Thursday. Do fences. Tuesday morning for draft. Ask legal now. Freeze meetings. Thursday, 10-12. You name 1 identity vow for the week in 1 plain sentence. In this team, we finish what we start. The sentence becomes a border on the week. On Friday, you close with a 2-minute debrief, 1 gratitude, 1 process change. Rooms that do this run cooler because uncertainty has a home. When the room is new and you have no formal authority, you deploy the 2-minute move called Command Share. You speak state and intent for your square foot, not the whole floor. I'm taking 1 minute to gather facts. I'll share a TMD and propose a next action in chat. Then you do it. Competence buys permission faster than volume. People follow evidence they can stand on. Notice the 3 farthest points your eyes can see without moving your head. Name each in your mind: corner, handle, light. Peripheral vision tells the midbrain predators aren't close. Your shoulders drop a fraction. This is the body's side door into a better room. Add a small but potent tool for long arcs, Commander's intent card. It's a pocket phrase that answers, if everything breaks, what must not? For a launch, protect trust. For a conversation, tell the truth, make repair easy. For a day, move the priority 1 honest inch. You state it before the rush. You return to it when noise rises. Intent is a lighthouse. You're not steering by the wave that just hit, but by where you said you'd land. There will be moments when others' panic tries to colonize your body. Use the borrowed breath. You say, out loud and slow, let's take 1 breath together, and you count it. People usually comply because bodies want relief. That single shared exhale aligns tempos. Conversation becomes possible. It sounds soft until you try it in a hard room. Then it sounds like the click of a gearbox finding the right tooth. A vignette from a morning corridor lined with closed doors and emails that felt like doors too. You had to deliver bad news, a timeline slip. Old you would have avoided until the slip became a crash. Trained, you ran the 1-breath brief and the boundary bridge. True, we're slipping 4 days due to integration bugs, meaning risk to demo quality. We can protect with scope cut. Do propose moving feature B to phase 2, not doing weekend overtime. voice even, breath slow. The client frowned, then asked a real question. You answered. The plan changed. The relationship strengthened. Calm again was not passivity. It was precise motion. Feel the fabric at your shoulder. There's a seam you can feel with your mind's hand. That tiny contact is a form of belonging to your own life. You are the awareness, not the emotion. Because you are human, you'll mess up a cascade. You'll talk too fast, choose too many, forget the constraint, or skip the breath. This is why you have the recovery two-step. Step 1 is the live pivot. Reset, intent. Is X. Top 3 are A, B, C, constraint, Y. Next, check 8. Step 2 is the later C.L.E.A.R repair with anyone you steamrolled. Your integrity is not measured by never wobbling. It's measured by how swiftly you steady. Tie everything today into a tiny daily practice called 2 rooms. In the morning, you sit for a minute and picture the 2 rooms most likely to heat. You write a 1-sentence intent for each and your 3. You see yourself taking 1 visible breath as you enter. At night, you write 2 lines, how close you stayed and what you'll tweak. That's it. Rooms change when you do this. You'll watch it happen. As you close, stand if you can. Feel your feet widen on the floor. Bend your knees a whisper. Lift the crown of your head. Let one exhale be a rope you set down between you and urgency. Whisper the identity you're installing. I steady rooms. Say it the way you'd want someone else to say it about you, because one day they will. Not because you chase titles, but because you practiced breath, nouns, and simple clocks when everyone else chased noise. You aren't the hero of every story. You are the rhythm section, pulse, time, tone that lets the band play when the lights get hot. The storm still shakes the rigging. The crew still has feelings. Good. You don't mute weather. You organize it. Cascading Calm. Signal stack. 1 breath brief. Commander's intent. Monday mandate. Debrief. 2 rooms. Borrowed breath. Each is a handle you can grab in the dark. Each is a line you can hold when the water lifts. You don't have to be loud to be a lighthouse. You just have to stay lit. Feel your breath arrive and leave like a tide that knows the shore by heart. The room is simple. The work is specific. The effect is large. You are the awareness, not the emotion. You steady rooms because you can steer yourself in one. Legacy isn't what people say about you. Legacy is the nervous system you hand yourself tomorrow. What you practiced across these chapters is not fragile. It's a lattice that holds under heat. Today you'll stitch everything into a single living protocol, one you can run in minutes when the world gets loud, and in seasons when life asks for a new shape. You'll install the Keystone integration loop, so skills become a cycle instead of a shelf. And you'll pair it with the Lighthouse plan, a 90-day arc that keeps your identity steady while you grow. This is the part where training stops being what you do and becomes what you are. You won't outrun weather. You'll sail with an economy of motion that looks like grace. Sit how you'll sit when you lead yourself. The chair is real, with an edge your thighs can feel. The air at your nostrils is cooler than the air that leaves your mouth. Your feet have honest weight. Inhale for 4, hold for 4, exhale for 6, twice. Let your tongue meet the roof of your mouth and notice your neck release by a whisper. The room is ordinary and therefore perfect. You are the awareness, not the emotion. The Keystone integration loop is 4 moves that braid everything you've learned into one motion you can run daily or after any significant moment. Name, narrow, nudge, note. You name the weather and the value at stake. Surge of defensiveness. Value is clarity. You narrow the horizon and the circle of control for the next 90 seconds, and the square meter you're in. You nudge the system with the smallest wise action that honors your value. One breath, one boundary bridge, one question, 1 inch. You note the receipt in one sentence, so the basal ganglia stores the path. That note turns into identity evidence. Evidence becomes a spine. The loop isn't a chore, it's a gear. You can hear it hum if you listen. Run it live on a scene you keep meeting. A teammate goes vague and the deadline leans. Old code wants to lecture. You name. Tightness in the throat. Surge of irritation. Value is competence without blame. You narrow. Next 60 seconds. My words, one question. You. Nudge. What's the smallest piece that would de-risk this by tomorrow at noon? You note. Prompted specificity. Offered a slice. Avoided heat. The loop imitates the butler in a stage play, gliding in to reset the chairs between acts so the scene can continue. People call it leadership. You'll know it as design. The Lighthouse plan is how you turn the next 90 days into a calm arc. Lighthouses don't chase ships. They stand, they shine, they mark. For 1 quarter, you choose one role to steady, one skill to wire, one relationship to deepen, one promise to keep. Then you give each a single behavior you can enact weekly. Role steady might be manager. You run Monday mandate and debrief without fail. Skill wire might be boundary bridge under heat. You practice 2-sentence boundaries in low stakes twice a week. Relationship deepen might be partner. You hold the 10-minute check-in at a set time. Phones away. Promise keep might be the floor that protects all others. Water and 446 before reply on hard messages. You don't add more until the beam feels automated. Simplicity is fidelity's cousin. They look alike in strong light. An anecdote to prove the weave. It's the board meeting you've pictured and dreaded. High glass, carpet that eats sound, a table that could double as a runway. A director opens with a challenge aimed like a spear. Why should we believe you can steer this pivot? Your pulse ticks in your wrists. You taste the metallic edge of adrenaline at the back of your tongue. You run the Keystone integration loop inside the spotlight dissolver without anyone noticing. Name, surge of threat, value is clarity. Narrow, next minute, my breath, 1 sentence. Nudge, rate of speech, break, and 1 breath brief. True, we hit setbacks in integration, meaning we're protecting trust by cutting scope. Do 3-week plan with exit ramps at days 7 and 14. You ask the purpose question. If we get one thing right in the next 5 minutes, is it risk or timeline? Their head tilts. Risk. You walk them through the select 3 and the constraint. The room's shoulders lower a fraction. Later, a director says, "You made hard things sound navigable." You smile politely and think, not magic, mechanics. You are the awareness, not the emotion. Pause and feel the seam at your shoulder. The light has an undertone, cooler than yesterday. On your next exhale, imagine it traveling like a small river over your collarbones. Your jaw releases by a grain of sand. Sensation is truth you can spend. You spend it now to buy better words. Tie your frameworks tighter with a pocket vow called the observer's oath. It's 1 sentence, spoken on a long exhale before moments that matter. I will not confuse weather with who I am. The amygdala hears oaths when they're short and embodied. You return to the Stoic Switch, not as a trick, but as a character choice. Notice, name, narrow, now. Add the 3-perspective reframe when stories get sticky, and the circle of control compass when crowds panic and want to borrow your nerves. These are not separate tools anymore. They're a braided rope you keep clipped to your belt. You'll need a renewal drill because even lighthouses need maintenance. Use the 30-30-30 renewal. 30 breaths, 30 steps, 30 words. Before big rooms or after hard hours, you breathe 4-4-6 for 30 counts. You walk to find peripheral vision and distance. You write 30 words to empty rattle out of your head. No poetry, just a clean drain. The brain loves rituals that return systems to baseline. Your team won't notice the ritual. They'll notice that your face never looks like a closed door. A story at home where all this lands as love, not jargon. You come in late, weather in your shoulders. A small person is building a fortress out of books and wants you to live in it immediately. Your partner's eyes ask for help without asking. Your stomach wants silence. Your values want presence. You run an even smaller loop. Name, tired. Value is belonging. Narrow, 5 minutes, the floor next to the fortress. Nudge, you're the architect, give me a job. You crawl onto the carpet and feel the prick of the rug through your jeans. The fortress gains a roof. The room warms by 2 degrees. After bedtime, you say the kindest true sentence you can manage. I want to be more with you. I need 10 quiet minutes first. Boundary bridge lands because you delivered belonging before you asked for space. You didn't abandon yourself or them. The lighthouse held for the boats that matter most. Check the soundscape again. Near is your breath. Mid is a hum with a heartbeat. Far is a rumor of tires on wet pavement. Let each be just what it is. When you stop arguing with reality, decisions get cheaper. Because endings shape memory, you'll craft a closing ceremony you can do in 3 minutes at night. It's the micro-closure protocol you met, deepened into a doorway. You whisper, I protected, I progressed, I appreciated. Then you add 2 lines. I repaired, I returned. You breathe once for each and touch the doorframe with your palm as you leave the room for bed. The skin remembers. The doorframe becomes a bell. Identity is the echo. Science, short and binding. Your autonomic nervous system learns safety through prediction and completion. The more you pair long exhale with clear intent and visible follow-through, the faster your system tags heat as trainable, not terminal. Heart rate variability improves with slow breathing and honest routines. That variability is the buffer between spark and sentence. People will call you wise. You'll know it's ventilation. There is a horizon practice for seasons when life tilts. It's called the 3-month Lighthouse letter. You write to yourself, dated 90 days from now, in the voice of the observer you're becoming. You describe 3 scenes you handled with trained presence, how your breath sounded, what your hands did, which question served, which boundary held. You keep it in your desk or the Notes app where your thumb lands first. On frail days, you read it out loud. On strong days, you compare it to the day you actually lived and harvest the gap as instruction, not indictment. Future you isn't a fantasy. It's a negotiated settlement between practice and time. An integrated field drill seals this chapter. It's the orchestra day. You pick a day this week and choose 3 moments in advance to conduct instead of react. A morning block, a midday meeting, an evening conversation. Before each, you run the 90-second values pulse, state a 1-line vow, soften your gaze and speak the purpose breath. During, you deploy exactly 1 tool. Maybe stop, maybe 1 question, 1 breath, maybe the emotional alchemy ladder. After, you leave a receipt in a log. At night, you read your 3 receipts aloud. You'll feel a quiet, almost private pride rise like warm water. The world didn't change. You did, and the world changed around that. Feel your forearms cooling as air moves. The chair back has a shape your shoulders have memorized. Your breath arrives, your breath leaves. You are the awareness, not the emotion. You've learned to map triggers and widen windows. You've drawn a circle of control and built bridges instead of walls. You've turned weather into data and data into motion. You've asked good questions, spoken slower than heat, and kept floors when streaks begged you to be dramatic. You've repaired without theater and dissolved spotlights that never belonged to you. You've steadied rooms because you steadied yourself. None of this made you a statue. It made you a sailor. Statues break in storms. Sailors adjust angles and hum while the boat hisses over waves. A final story, because stories are how the body remembers. Months from now, you're in a hallway that reflects ceiling lights like a river of short moons. A message arrives that would have unmade you a year ago. A public critique with a kernel of truth and an unnecessary edge. Your cheeks flush, ears hum, breath goes thin. You touch the dot on your screen corner and ask, "Which door?" You smile, revolving. The Keystone loop clicks on like a familiar engine. Name, heat. Value is courage with kindness. Narrow, 1 minute, 1 question. Nudge. What part felt most risky to you? You slow your mouth and ask it aloud. The edge in their reply softens by half. You offer a boundary truth bridge with 2 sentences and propose the smallest test. You exit the hallway to a window that's colder than the room and press your palm to it until the glass cools your skin. You whisper your badge, steady sailor, and you feel it land not as aspiration but as inventory. You are not performing calm. You're wearing it like a well-cut jacket you forgot you owned until you needed it. This is not about becoming untouchable. It's about becoming unmistakable to yourself. You will still feel everything. Good. Feeling is data. You will not be owned by any single surge. You will watch it cross the sky of a mind that now has weather and seasons and a climate you've chosen. When you forget, you will return. When you slip, you will repair. When you're asked to lead, you will breathe, set intent, and select 3. When you're asked who you are, you will let your body answer by the way your shoulders drop and your mouth chooses nouns over thunder. Place a hand over your heart and a hand over your belly. Inhale for 4, hold for 4, exhale for 6. Whisper the sentence that closes the circle and opens the next chapter. I respond. The room hears it. So do you. The floor under your feet feels like a friend. Tomorrow is not a test. It's a field. You have built your tools. You have earned your tone. You are the awareness, not the emotion. You are trained.